Welcome to What's in a Game. On today's show, the Denver Nuggets are going streaking. We have Matt Brooks from Mile High Studios on to break down how this high-powered offense is blazing through the NBA. Stay tuned. Welcome back to What's in a Game. I'm Grace Jean here with the Nuggets resident propagandist and frequent friend of the pod, Matt Brooks. How are you doing today, Matt?
Ready to spread some propaganda. I'm good. I'm good. My bosses are gonna love the Mile High Studios shout out. That's gonna go a long way.
It seems like the entire Nuggets organization has gone through a pretty a non-trivial restructuring over the last 6 months or so, and that includes the state media apparatus, including yourself. But no, you guys have been putting out some really cool stuff on socials. It's very evident that they're trying out some new stuff there. I don't know if you guys have a new team or whatever, but great work. Really fun, TikTok level edits, like hype edits going on over there, which is always fun.
Yeah, it's been good. We have a lot of talented people, and that's a keen observation about the restructuring and stuff. You might be onto something there.
I mean, I don't have any. You're my only source within the organization, and I don't know anything really that you don't say on this show, but sometimes you can just tell from the outside what different things are happening internally, or at least that different things are happening internally. Programming note, as Will and I talked about last week, we are going to be doing episodes either Wednesday or Thursdays every week till about the end of November. So we'll update you on any schedule changes as things go forward, but those are the days to generally look out for us. Please do us a favor and hit the like and subscribe buttons. Really helps us out with the algorithm as we try to grow the channel. But let's jump into it, Matt, because we have an extensive film study to do today. I wanted to start off the first segment with just like some game summaries and general thoughts on the team you can talk about through the last 4 games as we kind of give our observations here. When we last left off, the Nuggets had lost their season opener in overtime on the road versus the Golden State Warriors. That team itself is kind of on a roll. I think they only have 1 loss to the Portland Trailblazers. Who have been rather impressive in their own right. It seems like all the best teams in the West are 3-1, except the Thunder, who can't lose a close game anymore. But since then, the Nuggets play the Suns. 133-111. This was a very easy game once Denver stopped turning the ball over, and they ended up blowing the Suns out. So general thoughts on that game. That one was at home, right? So
yes.
You were there in person. So you've gotten to see the team in person through 2 home games now. So maybe you can give your general thoughts on just how they look, to start the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of different ways you can go with this. Like the team itself, I'll start with kind of less basketball play breakdown type of vibe. Mm-hmm. It's a really happy team. Mm-hmm. And I know it sounds like I'm just like starting strong with the propaganda spreading, but I really mean it. Like, if you watch last night's pressers, like Jamal and Christian are in great moods. That's probably like one of the best Christian pressers I've been around for. And it's like, yeah, it's a post-game presser, but like, I think that's it's just a really good summary of where the team is at. Like vibes are really high. As for the actual basketball, I mean, I think that game against Phoenix was a game where they had 7 guys in double figures. The offense, I felt like, was just unbelievable. Like
I think they scored 133, shooting less than 30% from 3 in that game.
Yeah. It's not like it was wow, they got kind of hot. It was like, no, these are just open looks for everybody. Like it's the offense, the quality of looks that they're getting are just unbelievable through these last, I guess really during the winning streak and the first game as well, but really the winning streak. It's just been really impressive. And it's a different type of offense too. Like the utilization of Nikola has been really different and notable for me. just where he's getting his touches, the different plays that they're running, how they're combining different actions. So like you might have a horns play that flows into a double drag. I think I put that one on Twitter. So yeah, it just overall, like I thought that game was a really good tone setter of kind of the basketball that
where
we've
the
seen
offense is going to be. Yeah. So then the Nuggets went on the road to play the Minnesota Timberwolves, took home a win against this team for the first time since preseason of last year. And that was not like the funnest preseason game. I think it was the starters versus the Wolves' third stringers, and they took it down to the wire. No Ant in this game. Was there anything in particular that stood out to you about a difference in this matchup compared to even when we saw them against the Wolves in the preseason and previous matchups? Obviously acknowledging that Anthony Edwards not being there is a significant impact to the Wolves, really on potentially both ends of the floor.
Yeah, for sure. I think from a Minnesota perspective, like the minutes where they went small, but it was weird because I didn't think that Rudy had a great game. But I also felt like when they went small, it was just like Nikola is going to put everybody under the basket. So I thought that was interesting. Like that Nikola's obviously had some really big games against them, like game 5 against the Timberwolves in the Western Conference semifinals was like one that comes to mind. But like he just looked really dominant. I think their ball handling, they're a team that feels like, man, like if you get to the middle of the season and you're kind of in the play-in territory, like I would really see what type of ball handling help you can get. I mean, ideally Dillingham comes along, but yeah, that was probably my 2 big takeaways from that game was more so Minnesota based stuff and just kind of getting a feel for what their roster looks like. They've shifted a little bit younger now. Like a lot of that back end of the rotation is replaced by younger guys. And, you know, I mean, I think we've seen kind of like how that can look really good. And then there'll be other nights where it's maybe not as good.
Right.
So,
or even other quarters within the same game, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
Which is normal. I mean, like that's just kind of the nature of this stuff. But yeah, I thought for me, most of my takeaways were Minnesota based, to be honest. And there's no Ant, which is like a huge part of this.
Right. Of course. I think this is the first Wolves game that I've watched that Ant didn't play, like in the regular season, because he obviously missed the preseason matchup. In the regular season, that Ant didn't play against the Nuggets since the 22-23 regular season. And I'm not actually sure that he missed any of those games either. It's just, that was, so it's been a while since we've seen what that could look like. Jamal obviously went off in that game. Monster third quarter, 23 points in that third quarter, very reminiscent of the 23 points that he had in that fourth quarter of game 2 against the Lakers in the title year. Cam and Christian both struggled in this game. I thought that Christian really struggled with the Wolves' athleticism at the rim. His finishing hasn't been quite at the god tier level that he had last season, and I think that game brought the numbers down a little bit more. But he also had a really good bounce back in the game against the Pelicans yesterday. So we'll talk a little bit more when we get to the film about where is he along this sliding scale between like the Wolves game and the Pelicans game. And the other thing that stood out about that game to me was that Adelman closed with Tim Hardaway Jr. over, I think over Cam Johnson. You know, you can argue about who was closing up for who, and Peyton Watson over Christian. I think the Tim Hardaway Jr. one was over Cam because he was kind of playing a lot more minutes in that second half as Cam had to go out because of the stinger with his shoulder. And also I think Cam had some foul trouble in the first half, so that was part of the minutes distribution there. But Peyton Watson closing for Christian Braun I thought was a pretty big deal, not like narratively necessarily, but just like he was playing really well in that game. I thought he was having a really good defensive impact especially, and it was easy to keep him on the floor because he was making his corner threes, taking them with confidence. The shot release is still quite a bit slow. The dip is a little bit lower than I would like, but it's always nice when the shots go in, right? And so I thought that was a really good Peyton game, but I thought that just on him generally to start the season, he's been pretty good. You know, with him, he's had these flashes over the last few years, and it's always been about trying to maintain that level. And I think that so far this season, even in the games where he hasn't stood out, his floor has been pretty high. Like, he hasn't been like, he's mostly like staying out of the way on offense or just contributing where he can. I thought his rebounding, he's been very engaged, it feels like, on the boards on both ends of the floor. And I just kind of hope he keeps that up.
For sure. I think, like, to build off that a little bit, I thought it was a good bench game, like really, really good. I mean, Tim and Jamal like outscored the Wolves just by themselves in the third quarter. And I like that you brought that up about Pwat. I actually asked Nicola yesterday about it, and he was kind of like, all the little things Pwat's doing better, like all of the screening, the rebounding, like just his general. And I think that's why, like, you're talking about floor, his floor feels higher because it's all of the little stuff. So
the details.
He's really stood out to me through this short stretch of games.
The other thing as a negative that I would point out about this game is they were down at half, and that was a combination of you'd think it was like bench play, but I think the starters kind of struggled a bit to close that first half, and that's been a story of like three of the four of the first four games, and actually maybe Phoenix too. I just can't remember because that, like, we completely destroyed that team for most of that game. But I thought in the Wolves game in particular, the non-Jamal minutes, and those are minutes with Jokic on the floor, were a bit of a story. And we'll get into the film of like the things that we're able to do without a point guard on the floor, or at least without somebody acting as a point guard. Because I think there are instances where we've got, say, you know, Bruce on the floor with Jokic, and we're not, we still don't necessarily use him as an initiator. Things that we can get away with against certain teams that maybe can't get away with against others. But, you know, other than that, it was just like good to get the win. It's always nice to win at the beginning of the season, which brings me to the most recent game last night. The Nuggets played the Pelicans, won that game 122-88. This game was an absolute drubbing with the exception of a 3-minute stretch to close the half. And I mean, like, starters dominant, bench dominant. AG, I thought, did a really good job of locking down Zion. Well, if you could bring up this is like a representative clip of AG's one-on-one defense on Zion Williamson. Zion ended up having just, wait, Will, are you there? Okay, just checking. Uh-oh. Is that the AG locking down Zion? Oh, yeah, no problem. So Zion only had 11 points in 26 minutes. I thought the whole team did a really good job on him, but I really wanted to highlight AG because he scored 0 field goals against Aaron Gordon in this game. I think he only took 4. That was half of his shots. The other 4 were against other dudes, and he was able to make some shots. Missed one against Valanciunas as well, but I just thought, like, yeah, Zion became pretty disengaged also when AG was on the floor. I think he was a little bit more aggressive when he had somebody else on him, but that didn't really end up mattering to this Pelicans team that otherwise couldn't create good offense. And then we ended up killing them in transition. Like, it was just runouts the entire game, and that 29-2 run to start the third quarter was absurd.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, it wasn't a game where I felt like because I've been clipping a lot of half court sets and things like that, and that was a game where I was like, I don't feel like I've done anything. Just kind of watch dunks all game. This is pretty cool, but
it's funny because, and we'll get to it in some of. I did pull a couple of clips from this game for later in the discussion, but the game started off a little bit tight. It felt like the Pels were gonna like really muck things up and like force us to take some like tougher shots, or maybe force us into just more jump shots. And based on how the Nuggets started that game from 3, it didn't seem like they were going to have it that night. But midway through the first quarter, it just became layups, dunks on cuts, back cuts, on rolls, etc. And it was no longer a tight game after that. Before we get to anything else that you want to add, just general observations on the first 4 games before we move into the film study?
Let's do some film study.
All right.
Let's do it.
So I want to start with the less fun side of the ball for most people, the defense. And then end on a lighter note with the very blazing offense. My first question to you on the Nuggets defense right now is, do you think that this team's defense has a target identity? And if so, what is it in terms of what their goals are on defense? Because you could say the title year, it was very evident. They were like, let's play at the level. We're going to try to contain or at least keep teams away from the basket via rotations and whatever. If they take threes and make them like whatever, but we're going to try to, especially when you had Bruce and KCP on that team together, a lot of chasing, a lot of forcing teams into the mid-range. That was at least the goal on their best nights, right?
Sure.
Like we kind of knew what the target was. But with this team, they're obviously trying some different things. Do you think they know what the target identity is yet?
That's actually a really good question to ask. I don't know if I get like a straight answer of like, oh yeah, we're trying to do this. Maybe you would. My sense just watching is it's like trying to limit shots at the rim and corner threes. So if you're like ending up with these wing threes, slot threes, like I think a good example is like Dylan Brooks took 13 threes in that Suns game. And I felt like a lot of them were these like pull-ups from the wing. I think that's ideally, and again, that's what every team's trying to do, right? Like,
right. Well, I mean, not like last year's Nuggets were like corner threes for all.
Which, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Actually,
wasn't a goal, but
you're right. No, you're right. I mean, I think like scheme wise, because you're running more at the level defense, and you're basically requiring a low man rotation. You're gonna have a corner 3 look. Mm-hmm. Now, whether that guy bumps down from the wing to the corner, I mean, It is what it is. But like, you might not always have time to do that. So you're right. Like, actually, it is maybe not every single team. So I guess that would maybe be my answer. Is like, I think that with the zone, with whatever they're running, Yoke little shallower, farther back in a drop. You are trying to take away those shots, at rim shots, corner threes, and we're going to live with everything else. So, but I don't know. That's a good question. It's a good thing to ask.
Yeah, because there's obviously, especially this early in the season, a difference between like what's happening on the floor and what they want to be happening on the floor as teams get adjusted to a new scheme and the players get, adjusted to communicating with each other. That's such a big part of defense, as we harped on all of last season. I wanted to get to a couple of or a few clips from the Nuggets zone here, because I wanted to go over basically the difference that I noticed when, especially because there's different zones I think they've tried running. A lot has been made of the 2-3, and sometimes it's like more of a high trap, like just the 2 or just higher than when it's just I guess a normal 2-3. The difference when there's pressure by those top 2 defenders versus no pressure up the top. Well, if you could bring up the Terrence Shannon Jr. pull-up 3 here. So they're in zone here, and then Jokic ends up having to step up, but the ball gets passed around a number of times before it gets to Terrence Shannon Jr. pretty easily because of how low the Nuggets are playing it here. And then, maybe you live with the Terrence Shannon Jr. pull-up 3, but I just felt like the ball movement overall was a little too easy for the Wolves in sequences like this. If you could bring up the Bones corner 3, that's maybe a better example of this one, of what I'm trying to say here. So yeah, they're moving around, the ball's getting places. I think the Wolves did a good job with their player movement on that particular possession too, but on that one, the ball makes its way to a corner, which is not necessarily what you want to happen there. So, in your view, like, what happened? What was the breakdown on this play? Was it really just like, okay, the Wolves just carved him up, or what could the Nuggets have done better here?
I mean, to me, this is really good player movement.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fact that I don't know who that is. That Nas?
It looks like Nas. It looks like Nas who makes that pass to Bones. He really does well coordinating his movement towards the ball, and then Bones relocating like immediately off of that, and then Nas getting him the ball right there. I think that was just really well timed coordination.
Right. And they swap, like you see them kind of like swap positions.
Exchange.
I have a long-standing. Have you noticed that almost every team is running zone so far? Like the Pelicans ran it a couple of times yesterday. Because I feel like every team is running zone, and this is I know we're talking a little bit about league-wide trends later, but I wonder what the efficiency and like the effectiveness of zone looks like if every team runs it. Like if it's described as like a change-up pitch, right? So like if you run this
unless you're the Miami Heat.
Yeah. Which, and honestly, like the Nuggets did that in last year's second round series. Like they would run 2-1-2, 2-3. They would do box and ones. Like that, it was crazy. I think it was game 4 of the series against OKC. But so there's obviously different zones that you can run. But yeah, I'm watching that this year. That's one of the things I'm keeping my eye on is like, if you're seeing zone every single night because every team is running it, is it going to be as effective, or is that going to be like an automatic switch of like, all right, ball reversal, we're going to have 2 guys alternate like that, and we're going to basically warp the zone the way we want to. So to me, that's a really good Minnesota possession.
I think that the next one that I've got too is also just smart thinking on the Suns' part. Will, if you could bring up the Grayson Allen 3. So in this one, oh wow, that's just the very end there. So if we could just slow it down a little bit. Who is that? Oso Ighodaro ends up screening Jamal.
Inside ball screen too.
Yeah, which is like a really good way to attack this kind of zone, especially when, like I said, there's not, you don't have Jamal and Bruce like pressed up against the ball handler to at least like affect the passing and give some more time for the recovery. So I do think that this was just like this was like smart thinking on the part of the Suns, who were down. This was the point in the game where they were trying to make it a bit interesting. I think they made it 1 possession at one point, which was kind of annoying. We ended up they just missed a bunch of threes in a row after this, it seems like. I think Bruce also maybe needs to be a little bit higher here, but it seemed like they were prioritizing like that corner guy. So maybe that's, to your point, trying to eliminate some of those corner 3-point looks.
And how far out is that? That's like a 28, 29 footer to me. That's a deep 3.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he can hit those, but
yeah.
Again,
but I mean, even if he was right behind the line, there's nobody near him, so he could have maybe stepped in and taken that shot too.
Could be.
But it's another wing 3, right? I also wondered, Will, if you could just cut back to that clip really quickly and you can freeze on it. I was kind of wondering, with our zone on the Grayson Allen 3, I wasn't sure if this was supposed to be a 2 because of where Bruce and Jamal are in particular. I wasn't sure if this was supposed to be a 2-3 or like a poorly executed 1-2-2, but it's probably a 2-3 because that's what they've run most commonly over these first 4 games, right?
Yes, I think so. I haven't tracked it super close, but yeah, I would think so.
Poppin says even Curry misses those at times. Well, not in the clutch, apparently, Poppin. Let's see. Vyacheslav says open deep 3 is not effective. Well, you got to look at the identity of the shooter too. And Grayson Allen is their best 3-point shooter on the Suns team there. Let's go to the Isaiah Livers 3. So this one was just like the ball easily got to the middle because, again, this is like deep bench minutes. But, everybody's getting these reps. Even the, 3rd and 4th string players are executing these schemes or trying to. And I just felt like here it was like, okay, part of the job, I think, of the 2 people at the top is to get a little bit more pressure there so that they can't easily enter the ball to the guy that's flashing to the middle of the floor. So Zeke takes over that responsibility along with Jalen Pickett after the Suns are doing their own thing. They're trying to move players around and exchange some roles with positions on the floor. And then the ball's easily able to get middle. And once the ball gets middle, as we know from what Nikola Jokic did to the Miami Heat in the finals, like, you're pretty much cooked. Maybe you're just like hoping they miss the shot at that point. So that was just something I wanted to point out, because I feel like maybe as the season goes along, we'll see a lot more pressure up top with this zone. Because I feel like, especially when they were playing a similar scheme against OKC, but they were more aggressive, like high traps, like get the ball out of SGA's hands. It was a lot more disruptive up at the top.
Because it's going to your secondary ball handler, like basically from the second the possession starts. Right. So it was a huge advantage, because then you're like, all right, now we not only have to run our offense and think about running our zone offense, but we have to run it through our secondary creator, and which is fine. I mean, J-Dub is, like, honestly probably their best passer, but it still is like something you have to think through. So yeah, I like that you bring that up.
And so I wanted to bring in what I thought might have been a good zone possession, because I'm not sure that they were playing in zone or if they were in man and just moving in like ridiculous synchrony with each other. Will, if you could bring up the Randall turnover clip from the Wolves game. So this was during the third quarter here. So I just felt like, and this is what the starters out there, they were just, Randall, I think, tries to drive, and then he's like trying to post up at the same time. I wasn't sure exactly what his goal was there. And the ball actually does make it middle, but now you've got everybody sort of aggressively playing the passing lane to the guy that's within their zone. And I don't know if this was like there's a trigger at some point in the possession to where it's no longer just, a normal zone or not. But I really liked how they did this, because it wasn't just about guarding your area. It was like, or like the guy in your area, but guarding like the actual area, which is what, zone is supposed to be.
Right.
And getting those deflections and just forcing that pressure both on the person who has the ball, but also the person that's within your area trying to receive the ball as well.
Yeah, this is great defense from AG. Like, you see, he uses his chest really well here. He basically goes like right about there. Yeah, chest and throws Julius off. That's good defense.
Yeah, bounces off his leg there. So I really liked that. All right, beyond the zone principles, we're gonna see more of it. Honestly, like it's not like they've been running zone as their base scheme or anything like that. So we just don't have a ton of reps of it to go over yet. But I'm sure we're gonna continue to see more and more of it as the season goes on. But I wanted to go over some interesting one-on-one, or not necessarily one-on-one, but defensive playmaking that different players on the Nuggets have made in the first 4 games to start to highlight, okay, what is this guy really good at defensively within a team scheme, whether it's zone or something else, right? Yeah. Let's start with the man, the myth, the legend, Nikola Jokic. I thought he really struggled defensively in game 1. That was just kind of a rough one on both ends of the floor. But I think he's actually been pretty good since, like, relative to that game 1 performance. And I feel like that was like the difference has been pretty stark. And I'm not saying he's necessarily at his like peak level defensively, but he's made some really, really good contributions. He had I think 3 steals versus the Suns, and they were playing a lot more at the level in that game compared to against the Warriors. And I think they were just kind of trying some different stuff against the Warriors than they did in the past. But against the Suns, he was playing a lot at the level and generated a lot of steals and even more deflections out of that. Will, if you could bring up the lob breakups from the Wolves game, these were shocking to me, honestly. You've got a Julius Randle pick and roll with Rudy Gobert. Jokic not only reads it perfectly, but he has to time it.
Yep. Like
just right, because he's not a very vertical person. But he has to like time his jump exactly right as well. And I just thought that was really good. And they say he can't play drop coverage, right? And this was to start the game. So I knew I was like, oh, wow, they look really serious to start this, because on a lot of other nights, that's just a lob dunk for Rudy. If you could bring up the other one, Will, the second one, the one that is from Rob Dillingham. I couldn't tell if this was a bad pass from Dillingham. It was a little bit...
It's low.
It's a little low, right?
Yeah, I think that's low.
Still a good lob breakup from Jokic. Positioned himself well enough to at least try to, he deters the floater.
Yeah,
and
I would say
kind of baits him into like oh gosh, right. He's here, I have to throw the lob, and maybe that's why the pass was...
Look at that left arm right there. See, that's the part where he sticks an arm in, and that's a dribble pickup.
Yeah.
So this is suddenly turning into, hey, I'm not going to get to the right side of the rim for a layup or a floater. I'm now having to think, and I'm throwing a lob, but I'm not fully committing to it. And this, great read. His hand-eye coordination is crazy that he can just hit that to Jamal.
Absolutely insane. And when we get to the offense, we're going to talk about some crazy Jokic's touches, actual god tier plays that he's made to start the season. But generally, I thought that was really cool to see, because that's not going to always happen. I think even in this game, the Wolves got him on lobs to Rudy a time or two. But it's good to see him be able to make those plays, because at least on that possession with Rob Dillingham, it's good, I think, to make the ball handler have to think a little bit. And it's easier when it's, Rob Dillingham or Julius Randle and not Mike Conley, who just has like perfect chemistry with Rudy Gobert.
And a floater lob god. He's just like, his whole career he's been good at that specific skill. So
yeah. I do think that small ball against the Wolves is still tough for Denver. I mean, honestly, with Jokic on the floor or not, because it was, especially in this game, it was a lot of Julius attacking Jokic in space. And obviously when you try to put him on Nas, like Nas is just shooting threes, so he can't play off of him as much. And it's less about Nas being able to attack Jokic in space like Julius can, but more that Jokic isn't able to, pinch in and help on things because they're kind of pulling him away from the rim. So I'll be interested to watch how those small ball minutes go defensively for Denver. Offensively, you alluded to some things that we're gonna talk about with the ways that Denver can attack those units. But defensively, I'm curious about what Denver's going to try to do in those minutes. I suspect that the answer is going to come with a lot of zone. DA, famously said, zone is great when you can't play man, right? Next, I'm going to talk about Cam Johnson. I think that his defense, I had in my notes that his defense has been up and down, and I don't think that's right. I think it's more that his strengths are very clearly emerging, like his strengths and his weaknesses defensively. So before I get into the couple of clips that I have, I wanted to know your thoughts on what the major trade-offs you've seen defensively are going from MPJ to Cam. So you can, since you're state-sponsored media, you can talk about them in terms of MPJ's strengths versus Cam's strengths.
That's great. Cam is... So Cam, actually, I've seen a couple of things. I've liked his box outs. I think he's had some pretty good box outs, which is a real sicko place for me to start.
No, 100%. Hang on. I actually have a clip for this. I need to find... Oh, yeah. Will, if you could bring up the Julius missed three. I'm prepared for this one, actually. I really like his box outs, too. And it started in the preseason. Like, his box outs on, like, legit centers have been, I think, really good. Okay, so the Wolves get the offensive rebound here, makes it back to Julius. He misses the three. And look at Cam just like Rudy Gobert, who always kills us on the offensive glass.
That's a great clip. Yeah, so that's a good one. Just general, like, he's I think he's got good hands. He's had a couple of steals where it'll be like an interior pass and he's there on time with low man rotation.
Yes.
But he doesn't just like, get there.
He's not just tagging the roller. He's like, let me read this. Let me get in front of this guy. Because Cam is obviously, he's not as big as MPJ. So that's fine. And, Mike had his own struggles within that role as well. But Cam is sort of like, let me use the thing that I'm good, that my strength, which is reading this pass and trying to get to it first. Right. He's got usually more speed than the guy he's tagging.
Yeah. So I think that would be the two things for me. Well, three, I guess, if you just look at like general team defense knowledge. I think he's like usually in the right spots. When you look at Mike, like I thought Mike had a pretty good year on ball last year defensively. And a lot of it is just like he's got this really high standing reach. Yeah. And if he seeds enough
ground, like space between, if he seeds enough space, then he can, use that to at least contest a pull up.
Sure. And he's a 6'10" wing. Like that's going to help you guarding really anybody 1 through 4. If it's not like somebody who's a Tyrese Maxey who's just getting by everybody. But yeah, so that would probably be how I'd compare and contrast. Is it's a lot of smaller things that that Cam is doing. And then when you look at like a really good Mike possession, on-ball defense is really easy to watch, right? Like you can be like, okay, he got a stop on this guy because, I remember there was a game 2 years ago against Luka where Mike had all those stops against Luka, and it was like, oh, you can clearly see like what he's doing here. His reach helps. So I think it would be more of a compare and contrast of subtleties and little things.
Yeah. Let's bring up the Conley layup for this one.
And CT's in here. Good call with defensive rebounding. Yeah, I mean, Mike gets a lot of defensive rebounds, so can't leave that out.
I will say though, because I didn't have a separate note on this, but Jokic has been an absolute monster on the glass to start the season, the defensive glass in particular, and I really do mean that in contrast to last season. Obviously, it helps having AG healthy because I think having him there to box out, to be another body to help like tap the ball around to Jokic in these situations is a lot of help. And AG, missed a lot of last season, which was part of why the team as a whole struggled in that sense. But I think Jokic himself individually had not his best defensive rebounding seasons. But I mean, like in the Wolves game, didn't he have like 19 rebounds? And most of those were on the defensive glass. Yeah. So, well, if you could bring up the Conley layup. So this is one where you can start to contrast here. Obviously, start the season. Conley has Cam, they clear out, and he just takes Cam one-on-one there. I thought Cam could have just ceded Conley a little bit more space, not only because, he's like smaller, quicker, whatever. It's also Mike Conley, and I don't think he wants to take a pull-up.
He does against us.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Cam was like, let me prioritize the line here. I also thought that he thought that he would be able to recover in that situation, but couldn't. And also, honestly, Conley was not great at the rim in this game. He made that one, but I think that's maybe the only layup that he made, and he definitely attempted more than you'd expect from him. Let's see. Teledan says when Cam stops thinking, he'll start playing better. He's too much in his head on the court. He thinks a lot and it helps on defense. I will say that. That's been, I think, his best defensive moments have been when he's like, he's clearly in the zone mentally. Okay, let's move on to one of our defensive aces here, Peyton Watson. I thought he was excellent in the Wolves game, and we have some clips from the Pels game as well. Well, if you could bring up the McDaniels turnover. Peyton, I think, ends up forcing this turnover. It's in transition, but I think he's going to be covering Nas in the corner, sees that McDaniels is going to try to whip it out, so he's covering Rudy because I think Jokic hadn't made it there yet. He's just like trying to get back cover. Forces Jaden to whip it out to the corner, but it just was not on target. But I think that Peyton's wingspan had a little bit something to do with that. Although I'll be honest, I don't know what McDaniels was thinking in this moment. I think he maybe wanted to get it to Rudy, and then Peyton was just there, and then Jokic was there, and so he was like, shoot, now I gotta whip something quickly to the corner.
Peyton's also there in prime block position from the weak side in that clip.
Yeah.
So
if he tries to go up with it. Yeah. If you could get to the steal and finish, Will, because I don't think that Peyton ends up even getting a box score credit for what he did on this turnover. But here, very clearly, he's there. He's aware. He knows when the ball is getting to, is that Mike Conley? And is able to finish it at the rim, which is what I was nervous about on this fast break. But then he ended up doing it. And that was a pretty crucial moment in the game. The Wolves were making their run. And the game was about to be, well, it was already close. It was already one possession. So this was a pretty crucial moment, I thought. And that's just like, Peyton is fast. Like he's particularly fast for somebody his size. And obviously the length helps, but that's the kind of play where you're like, wow, man, like that the athleticism that he brings to the team does really pop.
And he's like his stride length is long.
Yeah,
he's got long arms. Like,
right. So you see him standing at where he's guarding. He's like ready to also like help potentially like at the nail there. He's not very close to the guy he's guarding, but he's still able to intercept this pass right at the point of the catch, basically.
To me, the secret of this clip is Bruce fronting, because this is. Like, he's low and he's making that. That's just not a pass. Is that Terrence Shannon handling the ball? Like, I just think that pass is basically gone. He doesn't feel comfortable making that pass. So then you're looking, all right, and this is telegraphed. So to me, like, Bruce is just his fronts and general sizing up. I mean, we know this, like, that he can guard bigger guys, but it's really nice to have back, to be honest. Like, it really is. To me, Bruce is like the part of this that really stands out. And then, yes, obviously the finish from Peyton, like he's super fast. We've seen him run the floor. He had a great play yesterday where he ran the floor after getting a block. But to me,
we have that
like, we do. Okay.
Yeah.
To me, what is really stood out with Peyton so far is that he's actually slowing down and everything just looks like it's moving at 0.5 speed for him at the rim, which I think is really good. And that's been that way since like training camp. And I don't know, it's been a standout for sure.
It definitely started to stand out to, us here on the outside in preseason, where I was like, oh, he's actually kind of, slowing down at the rim and like making some different decisions instead of kind of just going full speed, ahead in these moments. But yeah, always good to see him finish those shots. If you could go to the block on McDaniels. So Jaden McDaniels was absolutely killing us in this game. He was, I think he was the Wolves' leading scorer, if not the second leading scorer. I thought Julius Randle also had a good game. But Peyton also does a much better job of keeping Jaden in front here than the block is going to be the highlight, but I think Peyton did a much better job of keeping Jaden in front than anybody who guarded him that night. And that is just so good to see in terms of Peyton growing in his fundamental soundness as a defender and not just relying on his athleticism and ability to recover in these one-on-one situations. Obviously, the athleticism helps when he gets the final block, but he also forces Jaden into a mid-range jump shot, which I thought that the team did a better job of generally forcing him into in the second half of this game than the first half. But there were still many instances of him just getting all the way downhill, and I thought Peyton did a good job in another crucial moment in this game of keeping the guy in front, forcing a tough shot, and then obviously not even letting that shot get all the way off there.
Yeah, he looks stronger. I think also in that clip, if at the very beginning, you can see this is a nice stunt by Tim Hardaway Jr. because McDaniels is trying to go left and Tim is in right there, stunt right there. And that's kind of what allows Peyton to recover, is that he's stunting.
Yeah.
And now he has to think twice, because you could tell he's trying to go left. He's trying to get downhill. So, overall, like, that's the stuff I think as we see more and more and this team plays more and more, we're going to get more of that. And it's like every team. I mean, every team defensively, like the Wolves are a good defensive team, and they're like going under ball screens against Jamal. It's like, it's early. Like early season defense is kind of like, it's very hit or miss. So.
And to your point about the stunting from Tim Hardaway Jr., that's just something that we've seen a lot more from this team than last year. But even in years past, even in like 23-24, when they were a really top defense, that wasn't really an MO of theirs. They very much, for the most part, were relying on the point of attack defender to kind of guard their matchup when they were in that kind of situation. But these stunts are mostly, I think, doing a decent job of keeping guys from getting downhill. I don't think that they were doing it as much in the first half of this game, which is what was allowing Jaden to get pretty much whatever he wanted. The Wolves also did a good job, I thought, clearing a side for him in a lot of situations, and it was a lot in transition as well. This was more of a late game situation. They weren't running as much. So we were able to take advantage of that with the spacing that they did have.
And that fits into what I said, though, like at the very beginning of this show, talking about like, you're going to have to give up something. So what's the obvious shot? Right. Yeah. It's the one pass away wing three. And if you're stunting, that's going to be what you have to live with. And ideally, if it's on one side of the floor,
you're like, I don't even know if this ball handler is going to make that pass. And in this instance, Jaden didn't. So
Or if it's like, let's say that guy stunting is Peyton Watson, who we know can recover out and has this long wingspan. Like, we might actually feel good about him not only stunting to stop the drive, but he has that type of athleticism to get out to the shooter at the wing and at least make them feel like it's contested. So it's smart. Adam did a really good job of kind of breaking that down, all the nail help that they've been showing on his list video series, which is great. I recommend that to everybody.
Over on DNVR's YouTube page. Let's go to, he made a couple more pretty insane plays, I thought, in the Pelicans game. Well, if you could bring up on this possession, Peyton gets 2 blocks. So he blocks first Jordan Poole at the rim, runs out to the corner to contest and ends up blocking the shot of, is that Sadiq Bey? From the corner there, and that's just like a one man. He was a one man wrecking ball on this possession. So this one he does get blown by, but he's able to use his athleticism to recover and block Jordan. Jordan's able to make a good play, get the ball to the corner, but it's too late because Peyton's on his tail and is able to run out and get a fingertip on that shot, which is pretty crazy. Because I thought it was pretty open, but it was not. And then obviously that, yes.
He led the league in block threes last year.
He did. He did.
Fun stuff.
I thought this was a good momentum block. And I have another clip in here that's labeled momentum blocks because it started a fast break. And here's another one here. Blocks Poole at the rim. Jordan Poole, known Nuggets killer. It was nice to sort of neutralize him in this game and not even like let him start to get a rhythm. I know the Nuggets are up 30 at this point and it kind of is like whatever, but Peyton goes all the way up with his Grinches, the signature shoe, when it's either him or Bruce in this case, obviously Peyton. And then it starts a fast break. So he did a good job of blocking the ball inbounds here, which is a thing that, helps your team get fast break points. So, and then this was the one, if you could replay the end of that clip, I think that you go all the way to the Tim Hardaway Jr. shot after this one. Yeah. So this is the one you can see Peyton running the floor like so hard. Peyton's like, Tim's like, I'm taking this shot. I'm glad he made it. But I also want to give Peyton a shout out for running the floor as hard as he did after blocking a shot at the rim. He's basically the first one back at the opposing basket, or our basket. Or I guess the opposing basket. 'Cause their basket, they're guarding it, whatever. So I want to give him a shout out for that, because when you don't get the shot in that instance, you don't always get the credit. But I thought that was awesome. Daniel says, contrast this show with goddamn Who's Better show, sir. Okay, thank you for the praise, Daniel. And shout out to Tim Hardaway Jr. for making that shot. That was a very KCP transition 3 type moment. We haven't seen Tim take as many transition pull-ups where he's like dribbling down the floor, stops at 3-point line and pulls up. I think he took maybe 2 in this game. I think he made both of them. But it's been a lot of catch and shoots and then off of handoffs. And Tim has not been shy about his shot. Get that right. But in this particular game, he had a lot of confidence to take that shot. And it definitely reminded me of KCP. He
can also hit those elbow, the middies that they used to run for KCP out of the corner. I'd love to see that. I wasn't aware of how extensive Tim's, mid-range game is. When we get to the offense, there's a couple of different things that he's done off of handoffs that I thought was pretty cool in a surprising way, including those mid-range jumpers. So, oh my gosh, is this the KCP at least offensively that we've been looking for? At least like a higher volume from 3 kind of guy, because KCP was never high volume. He was just the shots that you remember are the ones that he took, and there were no others, because he was very much a stay out of the way kind of guy offensively. Tim's I will impose myself, but also I'll give you some of these too. Speaking of Tim Hardaway Jr., the bench is needed, by the way. I mean, if we're gonna go into it, but take shots. This is what we want.
So speaking of Tim Hardaway Jr., I wanted to, you pointed out the nail help. I thought here if you could bring up the Val contest, Will, this is a possession where he kind of loses his guy around a screen, pretty good screen, I thought here. DiVincenzo ends up, he basically calls for a switch for Val to could you stop him in contest? 'Cause I totally lost this guy, and I'll veer switch here. And then, the Nuggets and Val were quick enough to, respond to that, force DiVincenzo into a tough floater. And I think he thought he was going to get an open shot here, because Val was kind of a little bit behind. But as soon as Tim calls for the switch, Val steps way up. And I think Val did not get a credit for a block here, but I think he got a fingertip on this ball.
Yeah, he definitely shifts his, because he's in drop there,
or he forces a higher arch on the shot.
Yeah, that's good defense. I'm trying to watch the full clip to see.
He's I'm done.
Yeah, that's just good defense. I'm with it. I don't have too much to add to it.
Yeah. And then I wanted to give Val a shout out for some rim protection. He's not really known for it, but he had this block on Bones. And I think that it was indicative of just kind of what could happen as the pick and roll chemistry, defensive chemistry, grows with these teams. So
this looks like zone.
It is zone, and then he's just here. They're trying to, the Bulls are well, we're going to run our pick and roll anyway. Bones gets the matchup. Blows by Jamal. Not great, but Val's no, you're not going to get this easy. I think he was going a scoop shot here.
Yep.
Or at least makes it tough. Even if he doesn't get the block here, I don't think that's an easy shot for Bones to make. So.
And it's a good read early in the play too.
Yes.
He sees that he's getting downhill, and he kind of rotates weak side. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just go over one more here. Let's talk about Bruce Brown. He had a couple in the Pels game. Let's go to the forced turnover, because I thought this was very indicative of what Bruce Brown, like what the Nuggets need from Bruce Brown, what the Nuggets have needed from a Bruce Brown type here. So he's guarding Trey Murphy up at the top.
Oh, I love this play.
And he's just making his life absolute hell at the end of the shot clock. And Trey throws it to the audience. I think he thinks somebody's being there, but you can see that everybody is covered. So this is a good team defensive possession as well. But I guess he didn't see that the who is that in the corner was open. They were trying to set an exit screen for somebody. But yeah, like Bruce had made his life such hell that he forgot how to think basketball.
Is that Poole in the corner? But see,
Number 3,
the other
yeah.
part is, so what I like is that AG is on kind of, you can see his positioning is on the top.
He's on the
He's able to
screen,
get
yeah.
a hand. So, which is interesting. I guess if Zion were to cut, he could maybe get downhill, but JV's already there. But AG's positioning is crucial because that's a tough pass for him to make. Like you'd have to maybe throw a bounce pass. That's good defense. AG, just like one of those little things, guys. There's so many of them on this team right now. It's been fun to watch.
I think my takeaway from this possession is I don't love going for flat spacing offensively against a zone. It just kind of makes the offense's life pretty hell. If they were playing man, that's great. That's what we do a lot for Jokic and Jamal, just to get them space in those moments. But against his zone, it's like, well, every passing lane is covered and nobody is in like an ideal area for me to get them the ball if I'm the ball handler up top. So anything else that you wanted to add defensively before we get into the fun stuff with the offense here?
No, I thought you clipped a lot of good stuff. This is stuff that some of this I haven't seen, and I'm like, oh, I need to. I've been so locked in on the offense. I'm like, oh yeah, there's another side of the ball, so this is good.
Somebody's got to do the dirty work here, right?
Yeah.
After that, it was funny because I think we were kind of like middle of the pack defense, or like, middle third defense before the Pelicans game, and because everything is such small samples, I think the Nuggets are like top 5 defensively right now after the Pels game. Reminder to everybody who's been watching the show for over a year now, I need to find this chart again, but it takes several more games that we're into the season for some of these stats to become, something that you can extrapolate over the course of a season. For defensive rating in particular, I believe that's something like 15 to 20 games in is when we'll start to get a better picture of where this team will probably be.
This is an especially easy season to visualize that too, because it's like, oh, another
the Chicago Bulls are undefeated.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It's like it's the
really Chicago Bulls and the Sixers, as well as the Thunder, are and the Spurs. Those are the 4 teams that are currently undefeated. I have this. Just since we're on the topic, I actually made a note. Basketball Reference has this cool tool so you can see what the standings were on a particular day.
I love that.
And this was a couple days ago, I checked, October 28th, 2022. So when the Nuggets started the year they won the title. This is like 4 or 5 games into the season. Portland was the number 1 seed in the West. They missed the playoffs. As well as the San Antonio Spurs were in the playoffs. They were 6th. Teams that were out of the playoffs at that point were the Lakers, who we know they started that season like 2-10. The Sacramento Kings were last in the conference at that point, and they finished 3rd. So that was just
that feels like so long ago.
I know.
Wow.
They might just finish last this year. Just wanted to throw that out there as a little tidbit for everybody that is.
3 seed.
I know. They had that 7-game series against the Warriors that year.
You're right. Jeez.
Okay, let's move on to the offense. The first thing that I wanted to note, and I'm gonna let you wax poetic a little bit about the sort of qualitative changes in the offense that you've noticed. The first thing I wanted to note here is Jamal Murray, not only looking amazing, which we already talked about on our last episode, and everybody knows it if they've been watching these games, but he is firing from 3. He went 3 of 8 versus the Pelicans, 5 of 9 versus the Wolves, 3 of 8 versus the Suns. And these are not games where he's playing crazy minutes or anything. I believe that would be his highest 3-point attempt rate in his career. And again, I'm looking over the last 3 games. He only took 4 against the Warriors. So that was one where you're like, okay, whatever. But he was, doing whatever he wanted otherwise in that game anyway. And then, oh no, I didn't include this clip, but there was that one like fading late clock 3 going to his right over Mike Conley in the Wolves game in that third quarter that kind of, I think, was either the second shot or it was the first that began his 23-point surge in that quarter, and it was just absurd.
That's his heat check.
Yeah.
Is a 3 going right, which is such a hard shot to make, by the way.
And he makes it so much more often than I think anyone should.
He makes it look easy. Go outside of the park and go try to shoot a 3 going to your right if you're a righty, or if I guess you're a lefty, do vice versa. It's really hard to do.
Well, if you could bring up the outlet 3, trying to remember. This was from yesterday against the Pelicans. So this was the one that pretty much capped off like this ridiculous run. First of all, that was a ridiculous pass by Nikola Jokic.
Yes, the pass is insane.
Catches the rebound with one hand, turns around. It's not fully a no-look because he does turn around and survey, but he takes 2 steps and passes with the one hand. Good catch by Peyton. No look to Jamal on the wing, and he doesn't hesitate to take the shot. And I was so happy that it went in. He got the shooter's bounce here. Didn't sell the highlight, and Ball Arena absolutely lost their minds here. What was this moment like in the arena last night?
Insane. The whole third quarter
was kind of crazy, so it's hard to stand out. But
yeah, that was it. I mean, the crowd pops for Jamal are like pretty tough to beat, especially when he hits those transition 3s.
Yeah.
Or if he hits a step back on somebody, gets a big switched out, like those. To me, those are the biggest in-game crowd pops you're going to get. That's just me. Anything at the end of game is obviously going to get pretty loud crowd pops. Oh, and AG too. Like people love AG. But yeah, the Jamal 3s are like big ones, I think, generally.
The thing that stood out in this game for me was that he was 0 for 4 in the first half from 3. And he still took this one and 3 more in the second half, and he didn't play that much in the second half because the starters were done after the third quarter. But I think this is real. Like, I think Jamal is trying to up his 3-point rate, and that is something that makes me very, very happy because I've been asking for it. All right, let's get to the actual sets, though. This team is absolutely going to crush, destroy, mangle bad defenses and defenses that have miscommunications. There's just no way around it. Like I said earlier, they scored 133 points against Phoenix while shooting just 29% from 3. First clip that we've got here is the Cam 3. This is the first of the same set 2 ways. Will, if you could bring that one up. And then I have a note on this action. So why don't you break this one down, and then I'll give you my thoughts on it.
Yeah, we actually just did this. So you get a little wedge screen for Nikola, and then you're going to run a flare for Cam, who's going to set a screen for Jamal. And so already you're making the defense go through 3 screens in about 5 seconds.
Very quickly.
Yeah,
very
maybe
quickly.
Probably less than that. And it's also you're using 4 players. Really, you're I would say you're probably 1 through 4 options on offense in screening actions, and they're all good screeners. And that actually fits into another larger point I have about the Nuggets, which is just there's a lot of really good screeners on this team. You see this, Cam comes over to set a screen for Jamal, and it's a good screen. And
then AG cuts and sucks in his defender, and it's just wraps.
Perfect.
And Cam has been getting a lot of open shots within the flow of this offense, just kind of generally. But I thought, and we'll go through more clips here, but a lot of these actions involve a pretty coordinated dance. And I thought despite, struggling to make shots from three, Cam has caught up on a pretty complex offensive process pretty quickly with this team. It's not like he, for the most part, I did think he looked a little discombobulated on opening night against the Warriors. But then the Wolves was more like, it wasn't about the offensive process. There were other issues, but I thought that he's usually in the right spot. He knows what's supposed to be happening, and that's evident. And I think that's really tough to do with this team in such a short period of time, especially given the role that he has as the guy who is the shooter within the starting lineup, is often involved in, a lot of this coordinated dance, right?
Yes, agreed. The screening is good. Yeah. He's a good screener. I'm gonna keep hitting on it, but that definitely stands out there. The key to that too is AG's roles, I think, out of a lot of these sets have been really good. I guess we'll probably look at it in the next clip. Let's look at
the AG dunk, Will. So in this one, AG does the same thing that he did in the first set, where he's setting the screen, getting ready to go up, create that space for Jamal, and then just slips, and nobody goes with him this time because they're like, nope, I'm gonna stay with Cam. I'm not gonna fall for that again, but you just gave up a dunk.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're Grayson Allen, you're smaller, you're a much smaller defender, so I think you'd want to give AG a cushion a little bit. I know he's shooting the hell out of the ball, but I think you'd want to do that. But because they got an open three last time, he's way up the floor. He's just thinking about, all right, let's not give up another open three to two guys that are 40% 3-point shooters. So this is just, again, another really hard role, and it's well run. First set of the game is great because you know exactly what you're going to run. You'll sit there and go, we're going to run this, and it's the first play you can coordinate. So it's a good set.
Well, if you could bring up the Jamal three, and this is the first of three that are out of horns. Jamal three, number 3. So they go through horns, and as you're kind of talking through this one, what is it about a horns alignment that makes actions that come out of it so hard to guard? Because I feel like all of my favorite stuff from the Nuggets comes out of horns.
I think part of it is that for the Nuggets, at least, this is your three guys. They have a ton of chemistry. They played together the longest out of anybody on the roster now. Is that correct? I think so. So you have those three together. They're really familiar. Jamal and AG, great screeners, really 3-level scorers now at this point. But the other part of it to me is that they have Nikola at the high post, and he's such a tall passer that he can make any pass on the floor. So I think it's specifically for this Nuggets team. There's just so much, just so much that those two guys working off ball that they can do. And then combining that with Nikola's vision and just ability to literally see everything on the floor. I would say that's probably the combination of it. Because a lot of teams run horns, but it just seems to be, whenever they go to horns, I'm like, okay, cool. Bucket.
Yeah.
I'm good with it.
Well, if you could go back to that clip in slow-mo, I was thinking about how a team could try to jam this particular one up. And I think what you would want to do is try to bring Christian's defender in for really aggressive help. But the Suns are the Suns. And there's a couple of problems with that. One, Phoenix, it doesn't do that because the reason they've got Booker on Christian is to give him a break. They're go guard the guy in the corner and whatever. So they don't. So he doesn't come in. But if a team wanted to put in a better help defender on Christian, and he came in too aggressively for help, Christian is able to easily back cut in that instance. And so the only way that you're able to really clog things up with this is if you had the big, or whoever is guarding Jokic, or AG playing way off of them and leaving them free to do whatever they want up top, which, creates risks with Jamal shooting the way that he is, right?
Sure. Yeah, and I think but the part of that though is like the angle that AG's rolling at. Like, I don't know if you send CB's defender, if he's even going to get there in time. Like that might be like an auto rotation for Grayson Allen, and then you're leaving Tim Hardaway Jr. open in the corner there because he's rolling at this angle where he's going to end up at the left side of the rim, which is where Grayson Allen is. So that's I think, and it's a part of it is it looks like Royce O'Neal and Dylan Brooks, they're not sure if they're supposed to switch or stay true to me. But this is just so well run. And again, because AG's screen is at such a good angle, I don't know if a switch would have worked. Let's say they ran it perfectly. I don't know.
Right.
It's just
then you end up with the thing with the AG slipping like he does is that it blows up the switch like immediately.
Yes, for sure. So you basically have to have both your guys low, like, so you're not only able to switch, but you're there to catch him in case he rolls. But then, like, if you're too low, then you're giving up a catch and shoot to Jamal, right? So like, that's like, it's kind of a pick your poison thing. So yeah, that's tough to guard. Those three is just like, that's a lethal trio to run sets with. So.
And that's why Jamal being so like shot ready, and obviously it helps that he's making the shots, but knowing that he is liable to fire in those instances, I think is what makes them just like completely impossible to guard. Let's just bring up we won't go over every one out of Horns, but let's bring up the AG 360 out of Horns. I just wanted to bring up the poor miscommunication, frankly, on Phoenix's defense's part there. I think there was supposed to be a switch, but they were like, we don't want to switch Devin Booker onto Aaron Gordon, so we just won't. And then AG is like, goodbye.
But notice who's screening in this play too. It's Jamal screening, whereas the last one was AG. So it's the same play, but now you're like, you can tell that I trying to figure out honestly what Phoenix is doing defensively. I'm not sure.
I don't know. This is what I mean. Sure. Like, we are going to like just destroy teams that are not on it defensively, and that's why I think this team is going to win a lot of games this season. Okay, let's bring up the post split from the corner on this one here. So let's see. This was another one where I felt like it was a is this the post split from the corner? I thought it was on the other side.
This is their normal one. But by the way, Christian's been so good out of this action. Yeah. He had about, I think, at least two buckets out of this against the Pelicans, where he's just coming out of post splits, or these like high post splits. Yeah.
Oh, this one was this was for the point Jokic section. Will, do you have the post split from the corner? It should be just labeled. I think it's labeled post split from corner, or it might be like Bruce Brown, something. But it's number 8 from the videos that Matt sent. Oh, okay. That's weird. Okay, let's go to the Jamal offhand then, which is number 12. Well, the omniscient like voice from the beyond here. I just thought this was really like Phoenix has no chance of guarding this because the Nuggets mix in this is a lot of movement from Denver's offense that ends up in an empty side pick and roll, and then you can let it play now. Will they try to employ that coverage on said pick and roll, so it turns into a handoff here. Grayson has no chance getting around it, but they try to employ that coverage where they're like, let's stunt to Jamal, but then just give him the open lane because we don't want him to pass to Nikola. And then Jamal reads it perfectly and then is able to just go straight to the rim here. And I always love bringing up that particular plays that come out of that coverage because Minnesota employed it so much in that last second round series. And obviously Jamal was, injured during that series and, not quite himself. And frankly, he was the only on-ball creator that Denver really had in that series as well. And so I'll be watching to see more guys take advantage of that. And we've got some clips of other guys on this team that have, and that's very promising to me because it was one of the most potent, I think, weapons against Denver's offense, particularly in crunch time situations against the Timberwolves the last time they played in the playoffs. Let's see. I was going to talk about what happens when the motion is covered, but we already mentioned at the beginning of the Pelicans game, it was a little chippy. I thought they were doing a better job of jamming up a lot of the off-ball movement. But it didn't last. And it was very, my conclusion of that was that it's just really hard to cover the way that Denver guards for very long. And I know the Pelicans are the Pelicans, but we ended up just cutting them to death. And then that all that good defense they were playing for the first 6 minutes or so just completely fell apart. And I don't think that it was for any personnel issue. And if anything, the Pelicans are pretty well equipped for that. But I think that Denver just really tires you out with that style of play, with all the good screening that they have.
The other part too is let's say you stop the half court action, well then they can just dump it to Nikola and have him post up.
Exactly, and that's what happened. That was the clip that I had was okay, it's a Jokic post ISO, and it's he makes a hook over DeAndre Jordan on the first possession of that game. It's well, what happens when they jam everything up? It's okay, this is what happens. But I want to get to a lot of the clips from the Wolves game because I thought that the Minnesota Timberwolves seems every time they play Denver. I already talked about this this particular coverage that they like to employ against us, but in this game the other day, I thought that they tried a lot of different things defensively, both in terms of matchups and coverages, and Denver, and in particular, Jokic and Jamal, with a variety of personnel around them throughout different parts of that game, did a really good job of countering those coverages and matchups. They attacked matchups in a lot of different ways. So there's a lot of film from that game in particular. Let's start with Christian Brown, actually, because I think that one of the things that stood out is even more than last year, and I thought we started to see a lot of this last year. Jokic is running a lot of handoffs with a lot of different guys, including Jamal, but a lot of guys that aren't Jamal as well. And Christian, I think, has seen even higher DHO usage this season than last, and we saw a good bit of it last season as well. So I wanted to bring up first a clip of his self-creation, and I can't remember if this one is from the Suns game, so if you could bring up the self-creation clip. Well, and I think it's so important that in these moments, it's from the Wolves game, handoff from Jokic, he gets all the way downhill. I didn't even note this one. You're going to see a lot of clips from the Wolves game where other guys are able to score when this is the Wolves small ball, and it's not just about Jokic attacking or Jokic getting offensive rebounds. It is a lot harder for someone that is Julius Randle than someone that is Rudy Gobert to play effective drop coverage because they're not as big, they're not as imposing at the rim, etc. And to the point where someone like Christian Brown, who can be a little bit hesitant in spots like this to generate his own shot out of this action, is no, I'm going to go all the way to the basket. Rudy is not here, right? And I just thought that it's very important to see Christian not just, and we'll have some clips of this too, or maybe we won't, because last episode we talked about Christian's passing out of these handoffs and creating a window to get the ball to Jokic, rolling downhill or sometimes popping. But it's nice to see him create his own shot as well.
Could you replay that clip real quick? Because I think the angle it's being run at. So when you go through, he's gonna drive, and this is a good under. He goes under the screen well. Look at Cam's spacing, where he's basically at the top of the tee on target center. Mike Conley can't sink down to the nail because one pass away, because Cam's shot is so quick. He doesn't feel confident in doing that. And then now you're attacking a retreating Julius Randle. So
and you don't get the nail help.
Shot, that's great spacing right there.
I actually think, looking back at it, Christian actually picks up his dribble a little bit early. Obviously, he's able to get all the way down to the basket, but he could probably get one more dribble in there, and even get a little bit closer. But I was very, encouraged by this particular shot. Well, if you could bring up the floater from last game, I was shocked when this went in. I was shocked when he took it. And then I was shocked when it went in. But I've seen Christian make floaters before, just not really out of pick and roll. So here, handoff, Jokic rolling. And if you see here, is this, I can't tell if that's Misi or Queen that is guarding Jokic. Anyway,
I think that's DJ.
Oh, that's DJ? Oh my.
Yeah, it's the hair.
Oh yeah. Okay. So you can go ahead and let it play, Will. So yeah, Christian, is able to get downhill enough to get off this floater. Jokic is right there. You could pass it to him for the floater too. But I thought it was nice that even in a situation where Jokic was like available for like a little dump off or whatever, Christian was like, no, I'm going to take this shot. Maybe it's just because it was DJ, because I didn't realize that was him when I went back to look at these.
I see patience in both of those clips too, because he basically reverses back, crosses back, and then basically waits till he gets the perfect angle. And something as simple as that makes a big difference with a screener as good as Jokic. Like you see, like, I think Trey is there pretty well in the beginning of the clip. And then when he crosses back and then takes the different angle, well, now he's got to go all the way around Jokic. So yeah, it's similar play actually in a weird way where he's waiting for the perfect moment to get downhill. Yes.
Patience at a pick and roll. It's not just about, speed in that instance. And I actually think DJ does a decent job of playing it, given where like the position that Trey Murphy like puts him in, because you're forced into a Christian Brown floater, and like the Pelicans would generally live with that shot. But it was nice to see him hit it. Okay, the next sequence I've got is actually a sequence of clips that I think are in one video that you posted yesterday about the sequencing that Christian had in pick and roll in this game against the Pelicans. Was it against the Pelicans? Yeah. Yes. Well, if you could bring up the CB pick and roll sequence clip here, and then I'll just let you take over for this one.
I got to remember what's going on in these. I like the hezzy there.
To freeze the help defender.
It freezes the help defender, and so if you watch, when he hezzies now, he's running at the same time as Nikola, which is really important because the big man is at Queen, I think. Maybe no, that's Missy. Now they're running at the exact same pace, and he's got to choose: am I going to stop the ball here, or am I going to be worried about the pass to Nikola? If you're working at that flat line with your roller, that's so tough for the drop defender to figure out. Yeah. So it's subtle, but it's a really, really smart move there where that hezzy just allows everybody to get aligned.
And I actually thought that Misi does a good job contesting here. And I don't know that this goes in if Christian doesn't dunk it when he does.
Yeah,
he probably pins a layup attempt to the backboard. Okay, yeah. So let this one keep playing.
This one's out of the corner, a little ball fake, and then actually passes it. They ran a good amount of they've done.
We saw a lot of empty side DHOs between Christian and Jokic between last year and even the start of this season too. Yeah. Just to get it gives Christian like the easiest possible read, because you've got Jokic on the empty side as opposed to rolling from the middle. A lot of times you'll see the ball handler being on like the empty side because they have a lot of room to drive. But Christian is thinking, or not just thinking more, but I think the team sets him up more to set up Jokic in this instance. So like we saw in the last one, and that wasn't empty side, but he had like the side with the driving lane. Yeah. Whereas in this one, he's got Jokic has that for his role.
Correct. So yeah, and there's one more, right? Isn't there one more clip?
Yes, there should be one more. So this is just spread pick and roll.
Yeah, spread pick and roll. Oh, that's a good read. Yeah, he sees
pinching in. Mm-hmm.
sees the corner man pinching in a little bit, strong side, and it's just looks like a little stunt there, and he makes the read right away the second he sees that. So it's little stuff. I mean, I think there have been similarities between what we've seen from Christian and Peyton, where it's year 4. Like that read is small, but it's a really important read that he's making. So yeah, that's teams will try that. Like I think that's something that they've been getting farther and farther away from, like predetermined reads where we're going to send the low man from the weak side of the floor, and they'll try to do stuff like send guys strong side, even if it's off of a good shooter like Tim Hardaway Jr., because they're like, we want to see if you can make that pass. He's making it. Like he's making it over the defender, and that's important. So, and
I don't think he's always made that pass, even when defenders did pension. He would try to force something into Jokic, which sometimes worked, but sometimes didn't, right?
Sure.
And it, like, one of the things that I harped on over the summer with Will, as Will will attest to, about this team and this roster, and something that I'm still really not concerned about, but something that's just like a running like narrative with this team. And it started last season as well, like early, like at the beginning of last season, where I'm like, between Christian, Peyton, and Julian, when we were more reliant on the youth, it seemed like, based on the way the roster was constructed, they had made a bet that at least one of those guys would develop into somebody that could make plays for themselves and others, not just getting the ball to Jokic. And it's a really nice development to see Christian in this role, being able to get the ball out to somebody else, right? So that was really nice. But, as I perhaps implied there, we are not necessarily as reliant on those guys to develop into sort of on-ball creators. And maybe you wouldn't think of this guy traditionally as that, but with the way that the Nuggets have been running their offense, with all of these handoffs, just kind of creating a natural, initial advantage there. Tim Hardaway Jr. has emerged as somebody that I think has a little bit more on-ball juice within our offense than I would have thought. Will, if you could bring up the Hardaway Hezzy layup here. So this, I think, is maybe one of the plays that you were thinking of earlier. So this, they run empty side here, and then maybe you want to break that down. I'll let you talk about the Hezzy and what it does and all that.
Well, he's got the defender behind him, right? Like Dante's trailing, and by Hezzying, I think he just further gets him in the rear view mirror, because he makes basically like the angle. And I also I wonder if he Hezzies. I don't know. You probably have to ask him. I wonder if the Hezzy is also like double checking if Rudy's there.
Yeah.
So if you Hezzy,
or at least like make Rudy think that you're thinking about passing back to Jokic on the pop. Yeah.
Yep. So that's probably what the Hezzy's for.
It's also interesting,
to deal with that.
Like, to me, in this situation where you have Jokic running an empty side handoff, we had one instance with Christian where he's rolling in that instance. Here with Tim Hardaway Jr., he's popping, or maybe it's because it's Rudy there, he's popping to create more space for Tim to get downhill.
I would think it's that.
Yeah,
sure.
So that's just something to watch. Is like, is this more about like the identity of the the rim protector there, or is it about the player that Jokic is playing with? Because like, I think that if you like to think of Jokic as somebody who's able to very easily mold his game to like the players that are on the floor, the way that the Nuggets are running their offense with all of these handoffs with so many different players is really going to stretch that that skill of his for sure. Like, he's going to be working out that muscle of like, okay, now it's Tim Hardaway Jr. that I'm running the handoff with, and he likes this particular screen angle, and I know that he likes to get downhill in this instance versus just like get enough space for the midi in another instance, et cetera, et cetera. Like we're going to see like maximum usage of Jokic's gravity plus like ability as a screener, I think, in this season compared to the last three, because I don't think we had a ton of on-ball juice outside of Jamal. Like we had Bruce, but he wasn't really he was more like, energy guy than like someone you rely on for offensive shot creation. But even then, that's two guys. Now we've got Jamal, Peyton, Bruce. Christian was not doing that his rookie season either. So that's a lot of, variety in the perimeter attack. And I'm curious to see how it holds up, right? We're going to talk about some potential complications with that, but that was, I think, really cool. Well, if you could bring up the THJ floater as well. This was just another instance with Tim Hardaway Jr. and the way they're using him within this offense. Like we thought, oh, this guy's a shooter, right? But he's got a little bit more of an offensive bag, and it seems to fit well within what this team is trying to do. So who is that? Jamal, I guess Jamal's defenders, like, oh, since they're empty side, you bring in a third defender to try to guard that. And Tim Hardaway Jr. is like, 2-on-3, no problem. I'll just take this floater, and he cashed it. Right.
Moving uphill, right? Like he's going up towards the handoff and then redirects around. The floater's there, so in case McDaniels, you see him slide over off Jamal. He still makes it. I mean, he actually probably, and that's a pretty good zone up by, I think that's Conley.
No, is that Dillingham? It is Conley. Oh,
it's Conley zoning up. Yeah, so McDaniels slides over. McConley's in really good positioning, but if he even wanted to, like if he was worried about McDaniels being there, you could probably make that pass to Jamal. But this is a great play overall.
And, it's nice that Julius Randle is not the person that was the low man in that situation. But I guess if you wanted to, you could have AG in the dunker spot instead of having three like shooters on the outside in that situation. Because you and I have this thing with empty side spacing. It's really easy to bring in that third defender because they could have kicked out to Jamal in the corner, but there's two guys within like relatively close proximity that could go out to contest him in that situation.
But because JG is kind of like he's not farther down the arc, there's no nail help, right? Like there's nobody there, so he's working in a really, really open floor. And I think that level of comfortability is why he's able to just kind of walk into a floater. To be honest, So
no, that's.
But yes, on one side of the floor there are three guys kind of relatively in the same area, so it's very give or take.
Okay, let's move on to Jokic versus small ball. So I teased this a little bit earlier with what are the different ways that the Denver could attack these small ball looks in order to take advantage of, our offensive advantages against lineups that generally will have some unique advantages attacking Denver in space. And hopefully play them off the floor. But, all right, let's go to Jokic attacking Randle. Okay, so this was just, was this second quarter? And Jokic just very easily got to the basket and got this layup here. And when I say easily, like, it's like, I know Jokic can do this, but he still has to push Julius Randle out of the way. And that guy is like a dense boy. I've seen Julius Randle like dislodge Giannis on post-ups and like that kind of thing. Like you bounce off of him. He gave Jamal a concussion last year.
Forgot about that.
With his chest or his shoulder. So that not easy, but easy for Jokic. I will say there's a little bit of worry about athletic matchups in this spot when you're relying too much on Jokic attacking one-on-one, which is why we'll go over some other clips where there's other ways that Denver can very effectively attack these small ball looks. Jokic actually did get blocked by Nas multiple times in the Wolves series, especially that game 2 with Rudy out. And then when you're relying on that one-on-one game, you have instances like Will, if you could bring up the Randle/DiVincenzo steal. They're really trying to like enter the ball into Jokic here. And then because of Randle's just athleticism. Like he's quick and is able to jump that lane. And maybe like Jokic could have sealed a little bit better here, but the pass is also coming from far enough away that Randall's able to get to the ball and deflect that. And I wasn't sure who the steal was credited to, so I had to go to like all the team's turnovers to find this. So that's, a risk of these kinds of matchups, but they're not always going to use their quickness advantage in these spots. And it's one of those things where it's like, you don't necessarily want to go away from the Jokic one-on-ones because you want to wear other teams down and let them know, like, you can't guard me like this. But you also risk possessions like this, especially against a team like, say, OKC, who doesn't let anybody guard Jokic one-on-one. That's just not what they do outside of that game one of that series, really. They bring in a lot of help, and it just comes at different points in the possession. So that's just something to keep in mind here. But other ways to attack small ball. Let's go to the AG cutting dunk off of split action in, I think this was the Wolves game. AG cutting dunk. Oh yeah, here we go. So this was just
interesting. They both roll. Or both.
Yes. So my question was, should Jamal have popped here? And I'm not sure that this is what was meant to happen.
I actually don't know either. Let me look at this. I have not watched this one. To me, that's great denial from McDaniels. Look at his right arm. Mm-hmm. Because even if Jamal's such a good like off-ball relocator where he'll like almost like it's like he's taking a step back, but it's like a step back into a catch and shoot.
Yeah.
I don't even think he has the angle to do that.
That's a good point. And that's why Jamal rolls.
I think that's why Jamal rolls. So this is actually, to me, this is a great read because that pulls Terrence Shannon. And then now McDaniels is on the high side of AG, and AG can just get a wide open dunk. And again, that's where Nikola being such a tall passer really helps. Because this is a pass basically over the top of Julius's arms, right? Like, and normally if he's the same size as Julius, probably can't make that pass, or he has to loft it and maybe the defender can recover, but he just is able to see everything.
Yeah. And the other thing about that is you punish, like on the previous possession that I showed where they forced that turnover, where the Wolves forced that turnover, Julius is playing Jokic very tight. He's doing that again on this possession. But if you're able to enter the ball into him here cleanly, it's like, oh, okay, the biggest dude on the floor for them is now fully away from the basket. And we can have two guys rolling and it doesn't matter because like nobody's going to stop us, right? Let's see. And I would say, my note here is just like a counter is you can try to drop on Jokic here instead of playing him so tight like Julius does. But because of all the off-ball screens that he can make, just freeing up a trigger-happy Jamal Murray, that's really hard to do. I'd be curious to see what this looks like in, minutes without Jamal, for example, because I do think that, like, we don't necessarily have Jamal's shooting. Like, not just, we have other shooters, but we don't have guys that, like, operate in a variety of complex ways off the ball as shooters like Jamal does. We'll talk about the non-Jamal minutes in a bit though, but that's just a thought that I had on this particular possession. Other ways to attack small ball. Well, if you could bring up the get downhill here. Is this McDaniels on Jamal here? So he's not able to fully shed McDaniels, but gets him behind. And then you're like, okay, now it's Julius Randle has to play drop. And once again, that's not Rudy Gobert. And he's got to worry about the Jokic factor. So Jamal's able to get off a clean, comfortable floater in that situation. And it's like a short push shot. It's not even really, it's technically a floater, but it's basically a layup.
It's a cliche, but they really do have a pick and roll dance. I mean, look at how long they work before they finally get McDaniels chasing over the top. And that's where it's just over. Like the second, and they're just going to keep working it until you have that place where Jamal's in front of his defender, and now you have no rim protector there. And even if Julius did, he's just going to lay it down to Nikola for a floater. So yeah, They're really good. That two-man game.
It's not just a matter of like, oh, just go under and like live with his threes. It's like, no, we're not going to let you. We're not going to let you just go under. We're going to, continue to screen and get the angles that we want and be able to attack the way that we want. And yeah, the pick and roll dance between those guys is just operating at an insane level right now.
It's funny, and I think Denver's running so much different stuff that it's like, oh yeah, we still do this, by the way. So yeah, good luck guarding this. We won a finals doing this. So it's the same thing with Jokic post ups. I feel like where it's like, yeah, we can just kind of throw this out at some point. So
you thought you stopped it, but then as soon as you're not ready for it, like here it comes, right? Okay, so I wanted to end this on a slightly unhappy note here. Will, if you could bring up the Naz Reid block. So this one is actually in the 2-man game, and it is this is the end of the half, so it's a little bit more rush and all of that. But the Wolves decided to just switch this action. And Jamal's able to get downhill, but I think once he gets into the paint, he's like, oh shoot, like I can't actually make this floater. I'm not even sure. I think he was trying to get it to Jokic, but Naz Reid was able to block it. And so this is again a late clock, end of quarter basically situation where the defense is going to have an advantage in that instance because they're like you're the one that's rushed, and they're like we just have to like, stop them for a certain amount of time or whatever it is and like make it a bit of a frenzy. But I do think, if you could go back to that clip, there's this illustrates a specific issue with the Wolves' athleticism. If you can see here, they get a switch, and I think is that McDaniels on, if you could rewind to the beginning of the possession. So they get McDaniels on Jokic, but then they're able to easily scram switch him out. And Naz is able to like play the pass to AG just well enough, or maybe he's just pointing to McDaniels to like go there and I'll take Jokic. Because otherwise we saw another possession where Jokic just very easily like buries McDaniels under the basket for a layup. So they don't want to leave that matchup on Jokic. So the fact that they're able to quickly scram him out scrambles a bit of like the easiest first read in this situation to where Jamal's like, okay, now I got to get downhill, try to create something. But I just want to point that out because it's by no means, we're presenting options on ways to attack small ball and attack the Wolves more generally. But by no means is like is this matchup solved for Denver? Just because of the myriad of options and the margin for error, I think defensively the Wolves create for themselves with their athleticism.
Yeah, for sure. I think I like from the beginning of that possession, like even the way that McDaniels is a way to like he finds a way to basically like swing himself around Nikola on the roll so that then he's in position to scram switch. That's a really good defensive possession overall. So they have a lot of athleticism.
Really good in that game on both ends of the floor.
He's a good player. He's a very good player.
All right, let's talk about our good players. Let's get to the Nuggets bench. I already talked about the small sample size, nonsense associated with the beginning of the season, but the Nuggets currently have a ridiculous offensive rating, even with Jokic off the floor. It was when I checked cleaning the glass this morning, it was 119, which is kind of crazy because it was a 124 before the Pelicans game, and I thought the bench absolutely lit the Pelicans on fire. So kind of hard to believe it went down, but that's an absurd offensive rating for the bench unit there. A lot of it is insane shot making by Jamal, but the new bench additions I think make Jamal's job as a creator easier for himself and for others. But I can't emphasize enough the immense contribution of Jonas Valanciunas to those bench minutes, even when he's not scoring, and he has been scoring, but it's not like it's coming. He hasn't had like a 15 point. I don't think he's had a 15 point game yet. Anyway, let's bring up the Spain pick and roll number 6, Will. And this was one from your recent Nuggets knowledge.
Yeah.
Just to illustrate just JV's utility as a screener, he gets bumped that second time too. And you got Tim Hardaway Jr. popping out to 3 to make Jamal's job easier getting downhill here.
Tim doesn't really even set. He just kind of fades.
Just goes south. Because like JV ends up like kind of inadvertently setting a screen for Tim to just pass through.
Usually the way you guard this, I gotta remember there's a bunch of different ways you can do it, but I think you're switching the back screener and I have it in my notes somewhere from at some point writing this down. There's a lot of different ways. Yeah, and there's a version of this where Tim sets the screen on the Suns big man. And that, I think maybe if he does that, Gillespie would switch on a Jamal, I would think. I love Spain pick and roll. I'm like, which is like every blogger. It's like such a blogger thing.
It actually is. It actually really is.
Like, it's a cool play though.
All right, let's go to the JV turnaround. Let's see. This was from the Wolves game, I believe. So this was another one where you've got it's a real size center versus Julius small ball. So this was an interesting possession because I felt like Julius was first trying to switch onto Jamal and but he was just giving Bones enough time to recover, I guess. Then he tries to drop back, but JV...
I think he hedged. I think he's trying, but it's just a really long hedge.
It's a really long angle because of how far Jamal travels there relative to where the screen was set. Yeah.
Right.
And then, it's like, well, we live with a turnaround fadeaway from Jonas Valanciunas, but he's hitting this shot right now. So,
he's money from right there. It's great. He's just like having that type of a play finisher on your bench is so nice. I feel the same way, and like I know we're gonna get into this shortly, but like the same way about how Horford fits Golden State, how I feel about JV for the Nuggets, where I'm like, this is what you want for this unit, like especially playing with Jamal, it's like a guy that
what they need.
Good screen setter, play finisher, and somebody that honestly, like, hey, like maybe you run something with a different one of your wings handling the ball, and if it might work, but it might not work, you can just dump it to him and he's going to go score. It's like, it's pretty sweet for like what the Nuggets are trying to run. I think it also keeps a little bit of continuity from the starters to the bench. Whereas in previous years, it just feels like such a stylistic shift. And I can imagine that's a little hard to do in game.
Well, if you could just go back to that clip, there was one more thing I wanted to point out from the JV turnaround. It seemed like an overall coverage, like there was a mistake in the coverage for the Wolves here, but I think the Denver really stressed them. But you can see that Jaden is like, well, I tagged JV. It's up to somebody else now because I got to jump out to Tim Hardaway Jr. I'm not letting this guy kill us. And it's nice to have another shooter on the team that garners that level of attention from the defense here. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise Jaden could have easily like fronted JV. Obviously that means like Tim's open for the 3. So there's just multiple outlets for Jamal now on that bench. Let's see. Let's go to the Tim midi. Let's see here. So yeah, Tim just uses JV as a screen here. Off a handoff, and he very, very comfortably steps into like the longest mid-range shot I think that anybody's taken on this team so far this season. But again, this is in the Pelicans game. They're up almost 40 at this point, and so it's like whatever. But it's just nice to have guys off the bench that can hit this kind of shot. And he gets so much elevation on his jumper. It's
I noticed that.
It's like comical almost.
Yeah.
He's like an anime character that like jumps really high on his jump shots. All right. Let's see here.
Ooh, good comment that KCP shoots that as well. I agree. That is
Yes.
it's a KCP. It's like if we took Mike's elevation and combined it with KCP's like shot diet.
Yeah. And Mike's confidence too.
Yeah, for sure.
Vyacheslav says, "I love how smooth his jump shot looks." Yeah, it's all in the confidence there. All right, let's go to. Okay, let's talk about Tim as a screener. We've already alluded to it with some of these clips here, but Will, if you could go to the Jamal floater. All right, so you got Tim. So I wasn't sure if JV didn't actually screen here, just kind of like slips to the rim on this one here. I guess because he sees like, okay, DiVincenzo's already like way on his hip. And I'll just kind of be here to like get him a little bit off. Maybe he has to take another step. But Tim is the one that makes the initial screen here. And it starts with Tim. If you go to the very beginning of this possession, that's the beginning of the clip. So Tim is trying to come off a pin down and he's not able to get the step on his defender, DiVincenzo. And I'm not sure if he just read that that's the case or if he was trying to like fake that pin down and then come set a screen for Jamal. So I don't know what Denver's intent was on this possession, but I guess that's a good thing because the Wolves didn't know either.
I think this is an example of like the read and react. And maybe this is a play that's in their playbook. I don't know, but like you have Tim coming off a double stagger or double pin downs here. And when he doesn't have the angle, it just flows straight into a double drag. And I think he gets into it. JV goes, oh, okay, we're running double drag. And I can imagine if this play is run by the end of the year, JV's automatically already stepping up for a double drag. So, and it goes to show you this is a really good offense. And there's still room for improvement. Like that play can probably be
like these guys just started playing together. It's crazy how good the offense is to start the season. That's why I have like too many clips. Sorry to Will for having. Yeah,
Will's the MVP here.
The show. He really is. Let's see. There was another one. We don't have to go over this clip, but it was just Tim had Bones on him, and he set a really good screen for Jamal to force the switch onto Bones, and then Jamal just went at him one-on-one. I was kind of wondering why the Wolves didn't just trap there, but I guess it's because it was like they didn't want Tim to be able to easily pop out to three and create an easy outlet for Jamal. But I think that trapping and rotating off of that probably would have been the play. The other thing with Tim is that he's willing to fire from a further distance out than I realized from
like
three. So yeah, we've seen some long threes from Tim, whether it's a make or miss. But it felt like they were trying to avoid the Bones matchup because he was trying to like hug up to Jamal or hug up to Tim and not give up that switch. But I guess the Wolves don't really like to trap because they don't like to get themselves in rotation too much. They're still they're an athletic team, but they're still a bigger team and they don't want to have to cover a lot of ground. Let's see. Okay, so this is a clip from you.
Let's talk about that clip.
Oh, go ahead.
Is that we're still very early. This is a great example of early season defense because I probably wouldn't go over a screen from 40 feet out. I would maybe go under. That would true. So this is I'm not kidding when I say like early season defense. There's a lot of stuff where you're like, I don't know. I don't think you'll do that in April or whatever.
Well, it's good that our offense is in such like tip-top shape that we can take advantage of early season defense from other teams. Yeah. The other thing is early season rotations. Like rotations are longer, and maybe like you have more guys in there that aren't like fully ready to like execute coverages correctly and all that stuff. All right, let's go to the Jamal THJ twirl because this was one that where they end up using Bruce as a slasher. So I'll let you take over this one and kind of talk about what Bruce brought to this play.
I think
the Jamal THJ twirl, number 7. Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Oh yeah, this play. Yeah. So I think the first part to start with is like before we even actually get into the play, if you want to start at the beginning and just look at who's where, because this is a key part of this Nuggets team that I think is really important, is that they're able to flip roles so much and flip where everybody is.
Yeah.
And it's, as a defense, you're not seeing the same thing over and over. It's not just one guy handling the ball and making decisions. Like Bruce is handling the ball. JV is going to the corner, the right corner to space, or left corner. I get right left confused. I'm not
the other right.
Yeah, one of those. Left corner, and then you have Jamal and Tim kind of working in this twirl like action at the beginning, where Tim comes off Jamal's screen, and he's now going to set this is called screen the screener, right? Where you screen for the guy who goes and sets the ball screen.
Yeah.
So you've ran all of this stuff, right? You've already ran an off-ball screen into an on-ball screen.
And then Bruce just rejects the screen.
Rejects it. Doesn't matter.
And Grayson Allen is like, damn it.
So you can imagine as a defense, you're having to talk through all this stuff. And then the guy he's like, yeah, cool screens. I'm actually just going to go and drive now. That pulls over the helper and JV. Great cut along the baseline here. Gives the passing angle dunk. I mean, again, and this is your bench. Like it's just been, I've loved it. I don't know. It's been fun to watch as somebody who loves these nitty gritty details. It's been a real pleasure. So yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah,
play.
no, that was great. It's good though, because like you're like, okay, we guarded all these screens. We switched when we needed to. Everybody's in the positions that they need to be. And then Bruce is like, reject the screen, get you completely off guard. Bruce has a little bit of that, like enough first step to beat Grayson Allen off the dribble, caught off guard, gets all the way downhill, draws the help defender. JV cutting in for a dunk, because it's like, yeah, JV in the corner isn't going to space that much, but he's got to like, the big can't be, up trying to jam actions or anything like that. So yeah, that's really, really nice. The other good thing about Bruce as a slasher is you have this option here. Will, if you could bring up the Bruce slash for a layup. This is like a second action type thing. Gets the ball halfway through the possession almost, and then just uses JV as a screener to easily get downhill. And DiVincenzo, for some reason, I need to look at this again to see. That was a good pass by Tim Hardaway Jr., because I expected him to take that shot, by the way, in real time. But then he makes the pass. And DiVincenzo, he does try to go under, but he's just too late. Okay, that's what I wasn't sure. I was like, why are you chasing Bruce Brown over a screen? But he tried to go under.
I think he caught that. He was like, oh, I should probably go under. Like, you see, he's almost halfway over.
Yeah. Yep. And part of that, I think, is because he tries to go over and Val actually denies him, and then he tries to go under and it's too late. Because Val kind of like moves the screen a little bit here as DiVincenzo's trying to chase over, and then so that was another just coverage mistake. And there's just so many ways this team kills you when you make coverage mistakes, either like as a team or as an individual defender. Now,
could you replay that real quick? Actually, I don't know if I have anything to add to this, but you know what? So look at where Tim spaced. This deep spacing stuff is so important, because he can hit from there. There's no nail help, really. I mean, like, if you want to call it that, he's like at the top of the circle.
Right.
But he really can't get in there.
Yeah.
So,
and Tim's like spacing himself even further out by just continuing to move. And
correct. He's continuing to move and make that rotation even harder if he does try to make that one pass away. So yeah, again, the spacing has just been really impressive. And I think compared from, if we're going to look at last year to this year, like the spacing in terms of who's spacing the floor and where they're spacing is so far ahead of where we were last year. I remember the first couple of games of last year, like the spacing was not what it looks like right now, to like put it lightly. Like, it just is, the spacing has been great. So that cam clip that we showed way earlier in the show. And this Tim one is like a really good example of how they're making it so much easier on their slashers by putting these really elite shooters on the opposite side of the floor and making those nail help rotations a lot more difficult to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you bring up last season, it's pretty absurd how good of an offense at least they were in the regular season, despite all of these like execution issues, as DA put it, toward the end of the year. And maybe it was at his exit interview, or maybe it was at his introductory press conference as the new head coach of the team, about how he really wanted this team to get really crisp in their execution. And I think that's evident even this early in the season, which I think is impressive. All right, let's go to Peyton as a roller for our last little bench gig here. So this was from your Nuggets knowledge as well. And I know you talked a bit about Peyton also being one of the players that grew in his ability and like skill as a screener. Screening is a skill. It's like it's actually a relatively technical thing, both physically and mentally. If you want to go over what Peyton does here.
Well, he runs hard into the screen, sets it, and he pops out so quick. Like, look, he turns his hips, and like all of that is, I think is that Colin Gillespie guarding him?
Yeah.
I mean, by the time Colin gets up there, Peyton's 2 feet in the painted area, rolling. I love that he dunks it too. This is a great finish over the big, but it's a simple play when you're watching it. I mean, like the dunk is, you're like, wow, that's a crazy dunk. It is, but the actual screening part is simple, but it's so quick and looks just completely second nature. But I love how he pops out of it. He uses the actual ball handler's defender's momentum to like bounce off him. So yeah, overall, like that's a big point of growth, I think, for Peyton, is just the level of screening that he's shown so far has been really impressive.
Yes, I completely agree with that. And he, like I said earlier, I think Peyton has done, at least to start the season, a really good job of like doing what he needs to do when he needs to do it. And otherwise, like, again, even in his quiet games, you're not seeing a lot of like, oh, he didn't know where to be, or anything like that. It's more like staying out of the way until he can make an impact, which is what you basically want from a player that's in the role that he has. And maybe, as the season goes on, he'll be more of a like every night, or like almost every night, like you feel him in a very positive way player, like we had yesterday against the Pelicans, which is crazy. He finished the game with like 5 points, but we showed the clips of the blocks. We showed the clips of or we didn't have the clips of some of his assists as well, but we know that he's got a bit of passing vision to him. It felt like a really big like impact Peyton Watson game, even if the box score didn't tell it. All right, let's go on to some of the biggest remaining question marks, I think, about Denver's offense. I alluded to this as a bit because there's a lot of good in the bench minutes. There's actually a lot of good in the obviously the minutes with Jamal and Jokic on the floor, regardless of who's around them, but especially with the group that they have, now. But I have some questions still about some of the non-Jamal minutes with Nikola Jokic. And the first one actually has to do with Peyton, because I think that we've seen Coach David Adelman, let Peyton run some pick and roll with Jonas Valanciunas. We saw it in the preseason. We saw it in a couple of games, maybe the first 2 games, not as much the last 2. I'd love to see some of that with Jokic too, to be honest, like Peyton on the ball. We just haven't gotten to see a lot of it. Because we're running a lot more, like Peyton is on the floor with Jokic, Bruce is on the floor with Jokic, but it's a lot more of like Jokic initiating every possession, which I wonder if that's just something that they're doing for the first 10 games, gather some data, and then they're going to try something else in those minutes. But Will, if you could bring up the Peyton floater, this was actually from last night's game. This was off a handoff, and that was the first on-ball rep that I can recall from Peyton in these minutes without Jamal on the floor. This is a really tough shot. I'm not saying this is like an ideal possession, ideal situation or anything like that, but it was just interesting to see this, see them getting these reps right? So you've got Peyton, Tim, AG, and Bruce on the floor. I think it's helpful to have some of your not less reliable shooters, but shooters that don't have like shooters reputations on the ball more, because then you've got like the shooters with reputations off the ball. So you've got maybe AG a little bit. We'll see how teams, start to react to him and his improved shot, but also Tim Hardaway Jr. spacing in this instance. They go empty side here. Again, we've got Bruce in the dunker spot, which I thought was kind of just interesting. I'm curious to see if they like change up how they want the floor to look when Peyton is attacking in these minutes, but I thought that was just something I wanted to note here. Any notes on that? Yeah.
No, I mean, I think you've got AG, Tim on the weak side. You could maybe see what it looks like with Bruce in the other dunker spot, because with where he's at,
with the direction that Peyton's going. Yeah.
Yeah, I would think so. If you're going to, but I mean, I don't know. I think maybe Bay, that's Sadiq Bey, right? Maybe Bey just makes that rotation automatically. But yeah, that's the only note I have on that. That's a tough shot, though. I mean, he plays through. I think it's
I would almost rather have Peyton. Oh, go ahead.
I thought Jordan Poole stayed in front of him for the most part too. I mean,
yeah, like because Peyton's got some speed, but he doesn't have like a really quick first step. So like a smaller player could do a pretty good job of staying in front of him, especially because it's easier to go under on Peyton. I kind of think that he would probably do better if it was spread pick and roll than if it was empty side. He's got pretty good. Okay. Pretty good passing vision, and I think like something like spread pick and roll, or even just going flat, would be better for Peyton, just to give him a lot more space up top. He's really good going downhill with a head of steam, but if like nail help is coming and the defender is in front of him, and like if he can't get that head of steam, I don't think that his athleticism necessarily pops in this particular action. But that's just, one rep that we got. I just wanted to point it out because I had in my notes that we hadn't really seen it, but that was the one rep that we got in the game against the Pelicans with Peyton on ball with Jokic on the floor.
I wonder if going to his right would help too.
Yeah.
Just as a different look, because he's had a bunch of those with JD where he'll make those like wraparound passes, but he's going to his right. Like he's driving right. So he had the one in the game last night. I don't have the clip pulled where he's going to his right and he takes the midi off of the off the screen from JV too, and he seemed comfortable in that instance. So I think it's just it's also like he is young. He's still like developing prospect that's still trying to figure out like what are how do I excel in trying this particular action. And that's why I would like to see more reps. So yeah, I mean, and you have to think about it too, is like it's data collection for the staff as well. Like what does Pwat look like driving left out of a I guess a corner DHO, or one where it's angled in that way. So definitely a cool possession.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what has been going on in these minutes, which is a lot of point center stuff. The first one was the one that Will played earlier, and I had it in the notes twice, so that was my bad. If you could bring up the post split here again. So got no Jamal on the floor, inbound to Jokic here, split, and you get CB going downhill with Cam popping out to three to create that space for him. So that was very effective. And then let's see, against the Suns, we've also seen a lot of inverted pick and roll, unsurprisingly, with Jokic initiating the offense here. So if you could bring up the cutting layup, I thought the Wolves were a lot more aggressive on CB's rolls and cuts than obviously than the Suns were. And this is not to say that the action was bad, but you can see like how far the Nas is playing off of Peyton here. And yeah, he's the one that ends up coming back to block Christian's shot at the rim too. And there's just, this is why when I'm thinking about like who's on the floor, do you have say like Peyton and Bruce, not necessarily like the most respected shooters regardless. So Nas playing way off of Peyton. It kind of doesn't matter where Peyton is standing. They're primarily concerned with the action going on with Christian and Jokic there, and so that's why you'd want to, try to get Peyton on ball a little bit more. If you could bring up the.
Could you replay that clip?
Oh, go ahead.
I want to. There's one thing I think that's pretty interesting. Let's see. So basically, Christian rolls. Terrence Shannon Jr. helps. Watch Mike Conley right here. So he sinks down, and that corner pass to Tim
corner pass is gone. That's such smart
good,
stuff. Man. Yeah.
Hey, still good. Still good.
And Christian looks. He actually looks. Yeah. He's like, I could just go up with this, but he looks to see if the corner's open or see if Conley's going to do something, and he covers the corner. So, but you see here, both Bruce and Peyton are left completely alone on the wing there, and so they're not only like, we're okay with the wing three from one of these guys. We don't think that Christian's going to make that pass. Is the bet that's being made there. Could you bring up the cutting layup 2? So you got direct initiation by Jokic here too, and it's in transition. So it's not really like the Wolves half court defense just totally shut us down. It was just like Rudy's actually playing off of Jokic a bit more than like Julius would, but we're still able to get downhill here. But again, Nas is ignoring Peyton Watson in the corner. And he's able to, contest the shot and affect it that way. And I think that that's definitely just something to watch in some of these minutes where you're trying to initiate things with Jokic, but it's not that Jokic doesn't have enough space. It's like we don't have enough space for the action around them because of like how various players are respected or not respected as shooters by particular defenses. Because the Phoenix Suns were just like, you can have the paint all day, all night. We don't care.
Is that first or second half? And is that after when Cam got hurt?
This is fourth.
So that's second half.
Yeah.
I would think normally
Cam is probably on the floor in this instance.
Cam is probably on the floor.
Well, if you could check the cutting layup 1, was that also first or second half there? That was also second half. So Cam was not on the floor. So that just kind of illustrates, I guess, the importance of having just one more shooter on the floor. Mm-hmm. So one more person who's a little bit respected can open things up a little bit on some of these actions. Yes, Pop, it allowing them to help strong side is tough. I will say on that second cutting layup, though, when Nas sinks in, Christian's head is already turned toward the basket, so he can't see that Peyton is open in the corner. So I think that if he did, there's a much higher probability that he would have just tossed the ball to Peyton in the corner for that shot. But on that first one, when it's Bruce and Peyton on the wing, I don't think Christian has any chance of seeing or making that pass because of how far in the Wolves defenders had sunk in. Like they would have just deflected it and gotten a turnover there. Anyway, so that's just something to watch out for. Will, if you could bring up the Cam inverted pick and roll. This is number 10. And you can talk a little bit about Cam as a screener in these point Jokic minutes.
Oh, I just love this play because like the Suns inverted pick and rolls are so effective. Who's that? Is that Nick Richards? I think.
Yes.
It's always, not always. A lot of times it's the bigs that are just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do to get around a screen. Like what is happening here? Like he's just lost here. And good job by Cam, by the way, to find the space for the midi. But yeah, it's, to me, when you run inverted pick and rolls, you're really just preying on the fact that bigs are not used to getting around screens. Like it's not in a big's mind to be like, do I go over or under? Like usually they're just worried about directing the perimeter player.
Yeah.
And so actually having to be the one to make that decision, I think is really, really hard. So yeah, that's I love inverted pick and rolls. I feel like I tweet them out all the time, but that's one of the many reasons why. It just is really, it's subtle, and it's one of the biggest advantages to having a Nikola Jokic, who's just a point guard, like basically.
Yeah.
So
just got to make sure you get him enough space, right? I will say against Phoenix, It was the most comfortable that I'd seen Cam since he joined the team. So like I said, he'd had like a roughish opening night, and the Wolves game was a little like, actually that was probably worse. I think he felt a little bit more lost in the Wolves game. In other games, he was just missing shots. It felt like last night, even he hit a couple shots in the second half against the Pelicans. But against Phoenix, and like, okay, I should caveat that by like, it's the Phoenix Suns, and I don't know if they're the worst defense in the league right now. Maybe it's the Pelicans.
I thought their defense would be better.
I did too.
I thought their defense
like part of
would be
it's like
better.
they don't have their starting center, but then they had who ended up starting in that game because it wasn't Malawak, and it wasn't Richards. They ended up. It was Oso, right? He's like 6'9". It's tough, especially with all they don't have any wings besides Dylan Brooks. There's only so much you can do. So a lot of the stuff looks a lot better, against the Phoenix Suns.
So you mentioned the Pelicans. I didn't think it was their defense. Like they weren't even in the half court enough for me to evaluate their half court defense. It was their offense.
I thought it was even worse against the Pelicans, honestly. I'm like, this is just run outs because of how often they turned the ball over. And I guess that was true for Phoenix in the second half of that game as well.
Yeah, they didn't look ready in the second half at all. Like, the second half was just like, okay, well, this game is over within 3 minutes of the third quarter.
They were unconscious in the bad way.
Yeah, it was tough.
All right, just a couple more things with Cam here. So if you could go to the Jokic behind the back assist versus the Wolves. Cam as a cutter, I just think that he's just been a really, really good cutter ever since the preseason. Even in this possession, this is another point Jokic possession, right? DiVincenzo comes in, sinks in on Peyton from the corner. But like, I mean, the story of this possession is this ridiculous pass, and it's a no look behind the back bounce pass by Jokic right into the pocket, and Cam's able to just hit this layup in stride. But he's had other possessions where he catches and passes on the move from the middle of the floor, which has been really cool. He had this other possession. I forgot to include this highlight. I thought Christian Brown tried to assault him with a ridiculously high alley-oop pass. And Cam saves the ball going out of bounds. And they were able to ultimately score on that possession. Cam is still doing a lot of good stuff. It's really just like we saw in that third quarter against the Pelicans. Like Cam hit a couple threes, and it was like the roof started to go off of that place just because like the Pelican souls like left their bodies. I felt like when he started to hit shots, because it was just like, okay, we can't do anything against this team anymore. And so I think that's the sort of stretches that I think fans have been, waiting for from him. But there's a lot of good foundation with Cam Johnson here that I wanted to highlight as well. Anything else that you wanted to say about the Nuggets offense before we move on to a couple of league trend questions?
No. I mean, we hit on
everything. We hit on everything.
I think we broke down every play of the season.
Will is like, oh my God, there's so many clips, and we appreciate you immensely. Yeah. It's probably going to go down as we go out through the season, but so much of this is like new to us because of like the different players that are getting involved in action. Like we broke down so many like pick and rolls or just handoffs. It's like that's a basic action, but we weren't seeing a lot of it from this player before, where it's a new player doing it within our system.
Sure.
And so it's
like
very
existing players too.
Yes,
like players that have been on the team are now. It's interesting. Yeah, it's a good point.
And so a lot of this is fresh. We probably won't break down like 50 handoffs, in like December once they're a little bit less new. All right, let's move on to behind enemy lines, where we talk about some of these other teams that happen to exist. First question, which teams have surprised you the most? I'll let you do like one or two.
Sure.
Good or bad to start the season.
Philly. I'll do one in each conference. Philly's really good. I'm fascinated by Philly, what they're going to do, because they have this like old guard kind of with Embiid and Paul George, and they have like there's half the league doesn't have a point guard, and Philly has all of them. And I'm like, what do we can we figure this out? Jared McCain like just got cleared, and like it was awesome last year. Grimes, I think I like Quentin Grimes a lot. And then Maxi's just been like a Dame and Harden reincarnate. He's shooting like 50% from three so far. I mean, again, it's like 5 games, but still, like, these are difficult pull-ups, step backs. Oh, and then VJ, like, it's crazy.
Yes, VJ Edgecombe looks awesome. He's really awesome. Good. Like, it was very like he did some really cool stuff in the preseason, I will say, but based on the college film, I was like, okay, he's going to take some time to acclimate. He's just getting in it just completely. Like, the athleticism immediately pops in a very functional way at his position, and it's just like it's over. I feel like maybe prematurely, because again, we're only for some teams 5 games in to the season, but I feel like he's leading the Rookie of the Year race and maybe is like ready to close the door on it. Although Cooper's had his moments, it's very like VJ is like really popping for Philly in a way I didn't think that he would do so immediately. Yeah,
I totally agree. If I'm another team, I'm probably calling the Sixers because they have a lot of guards.
Yeah.
And that would be, but yeah, they're interesting. I think they have a lot of different ways that they can kind of, build, and it's a good team. So that's my Eastern Conference. And then West is Spurs is like the easy one, in my opinion. Like, they've obviously been awesome to start the year.
Nick's been crazy. Devin Vassell, kind of an underrated story of that team. I feel like he has like really seemed to put it together, it all together this season in a way that it was very much in flashes and like fits and spurts. And it still flashes. It's only 5 games in, but it feels like, oh, this guy's finally ready to take that next step. And I think that's been really big for them.
They wouldn't be my answer. As much as I'm like, I actually think I overlook Golden State just way too much. I just like really miscalculated how good they were going to be. And I think I think Jimmy was really hurt last year. I know he was dealing with like the tailbone thing. He just looks reinvigorated. Horford's just been like this skeleton key player, like just unlocks everything for them. Will Richard looks awesome. What a perfect fit for what they like to do. I really
they keep them. Finding these guys. Last year it was Lindy Waters, right?
I know.
And
I know.
And he can shoot. He just like Lindy Waters, and just like totally completely fits the system. I think he's a better defender too, but he looks like he's going to be a rotation guy for them like all year.
Yep, and I think overall, like, they are a team that they're probably top 3 with OKC and Denver. I mean, if I'm looking at it right now, that I would think that's kind of where this is headed. Should I be negative? I should be negative, huh? Clippers have been a little weird. I don't know. That's probably my bet.
It's like a combination of the play and then like what the coach seems to be willing to say about the players in the post game. There's a lot of like weird vibes going on around that team right now. I'm sure they're going to turn it around the play at some point. That team is too talented not to, but I will say, even though I had concerns about that team's age going through a regular season, and I know a lot of people over the off season were like, well, there's so many of them, they'll be able to cover for each other, and they're so deep. They've got so many Hall of Famers that even when some of them are tired, the other ones will be able to pick up the slack. I was more concerned about them regular season in terms of like, if I were a Clippers fan, I'd be concerned because of how old that team is, like their best players. They only have 2 of their like best rotation players that are under 30 or maybe under 35. So that's definitely something that has popped in some of these really nasty losses too. But hopefully they're able to kickstart it. Not hopefully. Hopefully they aren't able to kickstart it at some point later in the season.
This is real.
Unless you're a Clippers fan. If those exist. All right. Couple of what is more real. Actually, first question related to two teams that you just talked about in the West here. The undefeated San Antonio Spurs or the 1-3 Clippers?
Spurs. I think Spurs are going to be really good.
Okay.
Hot take. Wemby's really good. I mean, what a revolutionary take here. Yeah, that they seem really good. I think how Wemby's playing is going to be sustainable. Just how easy it looks for him. His shot diet has been. I actually want him to take a few more threes. It's like so many twos now. I'm like, hey, take a few more.
Yeah, can you? I want to take more mid-range jumpers. That would be great for us.
That would be ideal. If I'm a Spurs fan, I probably want him shooting a few more threes. The guards like Dylan Harper looks great. I think.
Oh my God, Dylan Harper! Like nobody can stay in front of that guy.
Yeah, it's just going to be tough.
That's
like,
kind of
they're
scary.
Well, it's also like they have such quick guards, and then they're going to be pairing them with Wemby, who's just playing like Giannis getting downhill. They're going to be really good. That's a good team. So they're
a really good point about like we haven't really ever seen Giannis with like a quick guard. We've had like Dame, who like he wasn't quite as quick once he got there. He was more like very much more perimeter oriented. Not as much of an interior game, which you'd think would like work better with Giannis. But sometimes with a guy who plays fast and can like really is super athletic and throw off the defense, you want another guy just like that, kind of like Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry on the Ravens. You've got these two ridiculous, rushing attack weapons that like completely like clog up your game plan for what you want to do, and that would be really interesting to see. But in the West, we get it in the West because it's the Western Conference, right? We get Wemby turning into Giannis all in one season, and he's got two of the quickest guards in the entire NBA, including one who's a rookie and just looks immediately stellar. The undefeated Chicago Bulls or the 1-4 Orlando Magic?
You're gonna hate this. You're gonna hate it. I think that I'm worried.
I know your answer already.
I'm worried about the Magic. Yeah, I don't know about the fit of those. It's at a certain point. I just don't know if those forwards fit. I don't know if Paulo and France are gonna work because like neither one of them are like floor spacers necessarily.
Yeah,
and I think that's the difference between them and like everybody compared them to the Celtics, and it's like but Tatum's like a good shooter, especially like off the catch. I don't know.
Wasn't always a good shooter though.
Yeah, but he's streaky. I don't know. And they also put them in like god tier spacing. Like it's like
that's the thing I think Orlando is missing from. But to be fair, they're like, okay, we'll go out and get Desmond Bane, and now Desmond Bane can't shoot either.
Well, yeah, but
this team is being poisoned. I'm convinced. There is no other explanation for what happens to shooters in Orlando.
I think you need more than that. I think it's kind of like the Suns thing where you can't just like plug in Dylan Brooks and like have a good defense. And it's going to be the same thing with Orlando where it's like, all right, they have like one spacing threat. I like Jace. I hope he plays more. But yeah, I'm a little worried about them. Bulls,
oh, go ahead.
Bulls are fun. They have a good rotation, but
they play a lot in transition. They've had a pretty good defense to start the year,
Yeah.
Our good friend HP Basketball, Matt Moore, the other Matt, always likes to point out that Billy Donovan always gets that team to overperform defensively. And that's the other thing with Orlando is that they're really underperforming defensively this season to start the year. It's only 5 games in. I'm not saying that the trend is going to hold, but it's been a big part of their losses in these last few games, even in games where they've been able to score. Like the offense hasn't looked great, but they've been able to score at a higher rate than last year, even though the offense looks worse in terms of the process. But they haven't been able to stop anybody. And that's really concerning because that's how they won a lot of games last year. So you don't want to be an inconsistent team on both ends of the floor. You have to have something that, that you're elite at. And I really thought it would continue to be the defense this year. Hopefully they're able to turn that around. All right. So we talked a little bit about the zone defense, but is there any other league-wide trend that you've noticed through the first week of play?
I always think about this stuff in terms of like push and pull. So a lot more full court pressure. And I wonder if teams start setting higher screens. So like those step up screens. DeAndre Jordan was really good at those last year. DJ would set those for Jamal, and it would be like 3/4 of the court. He's setting a screen for Jamal.
And you've just expanded the half court when you do that.
So yeah, I'm curious to see if we start seeing more step-up screens, which are always fun to watch. And I don't feel like teams set enough of them. But also, there hasn't been as much full court pressure as there is this season. So I'm not bringing. I think a lot of people have talked about that though, just the full court pressure. I'm watching this zone stuff. It's really interesting to me how many teams are running it now. You really see it every night. So. I wonder if, just want to see if that hurts its efficiency or hurts the like, oh, we didn't see this coming vibe that you seem to get with zone. So those are probably the two things I'm keeping an eye on.
Right, the unpredictability.
Other trend is, why does no team have a point guard? It's like there's a lot of injured point guards. But man, it's like there's a lot of teams that need ball handling. So that also is something that I feel like
it's because the Sixers are hoarding them all.
I'm telling you, they're my Sixers.
And the Kings, maybe not necessarily point. Well, the Kings have like 3 point guards too, 3 like rotation-ish caliber point guards that they're, and like no forwards outside of Keegan Murray. So maybe like someone's got to be able to make a deal here. Liz asked,
it's a busy trade deadline. I think it's going to be. At the risk of sounding like I know anything, I would just think logically it would be a busy trade deadline. But
a lot of smaller moves. We had a pretty busy trade deadline last year, actually, in a way that surprised me because of how not busy the year before that was. But it felt like didn't just feel like it. Every single team made at least one transaction except for Denver at the trade deadline last year. So we know it was pretty busy. We had Jimmy Butler move. We had KD almost move, and
we're in the depth era where those like end of rotation moves really matter. So there are reasons to do that. If you have 9 guys that fit together, you should definitely make a trade. So it's I would not be shocked if it's really busy.
Liz, last question. Liz asks, how do you think the Nuggets will do against the Spurs? What do you think of that matchup now?
Probably one of the harder ones in the conference because you're taking Wemby, who is a defense unto himself. He just takes away the rim. So you're going to need to have a really good shooting night, which the Nuggets have shown the ability to shoot the ball. And then the other component of it is just like the number of quick guards that they have. That's just putting a ton of pressure on your defense. So we might see more zone in that game, for example, if you're just being like, we need to take away driving lanes. So it's a great point. I think that's one of the tougher matchups in the conference. So
I don't know how they keep the ball away from the 7'6" guy in the middle of the floor.
That's also
even
tough.
In a zone.
It's tough.
Okay. Anything else that you'd like to share with the audience? Anything that you're working on that you want them to look out for? Where can they find your stuff, your Mile High Studios stuff?
Definitely. With all the shifting, right? The change, I think, in the organization. Restructuring. Definitely have a lot of involvement in our long form stuff. So we have a series kind of profiling Deron Holmes. That should, I don't actually know when that drops. That's coming up. I know we just dropped a teaser for it. I think Saturday is when we're doing that. Nuggets Knowledge is my film breakdown series. If you enjoyed me talking about Mike Conley's sync rotations, that's what that series is for. If you're a sicko and love that stuff. And then Road to
Cam
Gold.
Johnson's box outs. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you, that's the place you want to go. And then Road to Gold, be kind of taking a narrator role on that series, which has been fun. But again, all this stuff you can look at on Nuggets YouTube. And then just in general, go check out Nuggets socials. We've been doing some good stuff. Got a lot of very creative and inspired people. Like I think just the team being so good and fun to watch, everybody's kind of bouncing around with ideas. So it's as fun as it's been to watch. It's been really fun to work as well. Like genuine stuff. Yeah.
That's really good to hear.
Yeah.
That it's like permeating the entire organization.
Yes, it is.
Well, audience members, if you've made it this far, we appreciate you guys the most. And if you like our content, please remember to hit the like button as well as the subscribe button and the notification bell. Leave us a review on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcast, preferably a 5-star review. Follow us on socials. Links are in the description. And always remember that winning is fun and losing sucks.
At work, that was kind of how it felt for like a month. I was like, shit.
Yes.
This is not what